33-year-old sheriff's deputy Edwin Brock is suing 55-year-old entrepreneur Donald Courtney for filing a false complaint after a traffic stop.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 154 on the calendar in the matter of Brock versus Courtney. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Brock, you are a peace officer, is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
Your complaint is that you made a traffic stop of the defendant for speeding, and that subsequent to giving him a ticket, he filed a complaint against you, which was patently false, with Internal Affairs causing an investigation. And while you were cleared of all charges, that report will remain on your file permanently, and you want him to pay you damages.
That's correct.
That's what the case is about. So I have a couple of questions, then I'm going to go to Mr. Courtney. How long have you been a peace officer?
I've been a peace officer, Your Honor, for approximately 9 years.
And what is your assignment, sir?
I'm assigned to the traffic division as a motor officer and an accident investigator.
When did this incident happen?
The incident occurred on September 2nd of 2000.
What time of day?
Approximately 8:30 in the morning.
And what was the reason that you stopped the defendant's car?
On that date and time, Your Honor, I was in uniform working speed enforcement in my jurisdiction when my attention was drawn to a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed on a street named El Camino Real. My visual estimation of the vehicle's speed was approximately 50 miles an hour, which is about 15 miles an hour over what's posted for that roadway. And that roadway in itself has numerous driveways and businesses in this particular area, which restricts a sight distance for vehicles traveling.
Whatever. So you thought he was going about 15 miles over the posted speed limit?
That's correct.
You pulled him over?
Yes.
When you pulled him over, you identified yourself as a peace officer?
Yes, I did, and I was in uniform.
Mr. Courtney, I'm going to come to you next, and I want you to tell me your version of what happened after you were pulled over.
The officer came up to my window, and I inquired of him as to why
Just tell me what you said. I inquired of him. Tell me what you said to him. He came up to your window. Did he say anything to you, or did you say something first?
He asked me for my identification.
Did he say, can I have your identification
Yes.
or your driver's license and registration?
Exactly. Yes, he
No.
did.
Which one?
He asked me for my driver's license and for registration.
Did you give it to him?
I looked for it, and then I suddenly remembered that all of my identification, along with my passport, was in my briefcase, which was sitting at home in another vehicle with my driver waiting to take me to LAX. I was on my way to Europe.
And you told him you didn't have
Yes, I did.
driver's license nor the registration for the car.
Yes.
What did he say to you then?
He asked me for my particulars, my age, my date of birth, my address, my height, my weight, color of my eyes, and I gave him that information.
Okay. Go ahead.
And he then returned to his motorcycle, which was probably 5 to 10 yards, parked behind my car, and he was there for quite some time.
And then?
Then he returned to the car, and he presented me with a ticket to sign.
Mm-hmm.
And I signed it.
And then?
And then he tore the ticket off, and he left.
So that all sounds very nice. And then what did you do?
Well, there was a lot that transpired in between
Well,
because of his actions.
I mean, we're not going to play I've Got a Secret in 20 Questions, Mr. Courtney. So far, you told me what happens when you make a routine traffic stop, license, registration you don't have, checks your ID, gives you a ticket, and you both go on your way. That sounds all
the gentleman
very nice.
here, while he's composed today, was quite...
No, just tell me what happened,
He was
Mr.
agitated.
Courtney.
He was very agitated.
Tell me, sir. He comes and he asks for your license and registration. You don't have it. I want you to tell me, point by point, which I thought you did, what it was that caused you to file a complaint against him.
When he approached me, Your Honor, he appeared agitated.
How did he appear agitated?
When someone looks at a person and they're not composed, possibly he had a bad start to his day, I don't know, and he did...
So he appeared agitated to
Yes,
you.
he did.
Okay. Go ahead.
Then, when I told him that I didn't have my identification with me, he just didn't seem to believe me, and he became more agitated.
No, don't tell me agitated. What did he say to you, sir?
He told me he was going to take me to magistrate's court.
Okay, go ahead.
And that was after I had informed him that I was on my way to LAX to fly to Europe, so I assumed he was going to take me to magistrate's court. I was going to miss my flight.
So what did you say to him?
I just basically cooperated with him and gave him the information that he wanted to. I don't recall exactly what I said to him at that moment, but what I did do is I got on the phone and I dialed 911 right away.
Why?
Because of how he was conducting himself.
So far, I haven't heard anything, sir.
Well,
untoward.
I'm about to share it with you. He was, he was very animated.
How animated?
He was animated to the point whereby he was in my face in my car.
How was he in your car?
His face was literally 12 to 18 inches from my face, and I'm sitting in the driver's seat, rather than having a good 3-foot distance where people can just communicate with one another. He was in the car, so to speak. He was in my face. He was not happy. He was in a bad mood. He was agitated.
Your Honor, this man is perjuring himself.
Just a second. Now, after he left, according to you, there were no words that he said to you. It was his affect. Is that right?
No, he threatened to take me to magistrate's court, and I couldn't understand why.
That is his right to take you to magistrate's court, sir. So that's not a threat. There were no words that he said to you that were threatening. It was his affect.
And his hand on his gun, Your Honor.
Yes.
This was just a simple traffic stop
Well,
on a Saturday morning.
It's a simple traffic stop, Mr. Courtney, except that the person who was stopped had no identification, had no license, had no registration. So what initially is a traffic stop becomes something else when there is no identification. I'm going to repeat myself. Other than the fact that you say his affect appeared to be agitated, he did not threaten you in any way. He didn't curse at you in any way. Is that right?
Oh, that's not correct, Your Honor.
Well, what did he say to you, sir? That's what I'm trying to get to,
The
Mr.
intonation in his voice, he was very abusive in how he addressed me.
Tell me, sir, what he said.
I don't recall the exact words, Your Honor, but just the manner in which he conducted himself. He didn't comport himself properly.
All right. May I see the report that was filed, please?
This is a letter that he wrote to my department
I'd like
for
to see
Internal
that.
Affairs. That's the letter right there.
Your Honor, may I make a point, please?
Yes.
Some of the points he made in the letter using the words...
Go ahead. Shh. Just a minute. Go ahead.
This incident occurred September 2nd. The Criminal Investigation Department conducted its investigation, wrote a letter back saying that they weren't going to pursue anything against the gentleman. Therefore, I assumed it was fait accompli, everything was over. I talked with my lawyer here in Beverly Hills. He said, pack it in, forget it. So I shredded everything.
Well, I have it here.
No, I appreciate that, but I wanted to peruse it prior to coming on the show.
Okay. Well, in the letter, Mr. Courtney, that you've written to the police department, you have accused the plaintiff of not only menacing affect, but of cursing at you on at least 3 occasions, something that one would necessarily remember if you remember his affect. I'm going to make a mark.
Your Honor, while you were
Just
looking
a
at
second. Just a second, sir. Would you show this to the defendant, please?
Thank you.
Read the portions that I've checked.
I apologize. I don't have my glasses with me.
It's a strong
Are
enough
we in
for
the same
anybody.
age? We're in the same age range?
I'm younger than you are.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheriff's Deputy Edwin Brock claims Donald Courtney filed a false complaint after a traffic stop. Donald claims Deputy Brock was verbally abusive.
Can you read with my glasses?
Yes, I can. Perfectly.
Okay. Now, I'll take them back. And the paper.
Thank you.
Without going into graphic detail. Well, I best go into graphic detail because we have a record here. When I was signing the ticket in shrieking tones, according to you, he said, sign the ticket or you're going to court now. That I would remember. Then, you say, he said to you with his finger, you and your limousine. And then you say he said to you when you said, please just give me the ticket. And at this point he erupted and said, I've had enough from you. Those are things that I would remember if I were telling a story, Mr. Courtney. Mr. Brock, according to your complaint, sir, you made this stop, and the time you made the stop, you took out a recording device. Is that right?
Essentially, Your Honor, yes.
Not essentially. That's what you said here. You said, I got off my bike and turned on my tape recorder.
Yes. It's a device that I wear on my belt. It's not something that I have to removed from a stored place.
I understand that.
Okay.
And you take that off because it's protocol to turn on the tape recorder so that you can memorialize the stop. Is that right?
That's correct.
Where is it?
I have a copy of the tape right here.
I'd like to hear it.
Okay.
Bird.
It's difficult to hear, Your Honor, because of the background noise of traffic, but you absolutely will not hear foul language from either party on that tape.
What are you stopping me for?
What's the speed limit?
What's the speed limit? 35? 35 where?
Unceded Boulevard to Garden View.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious.
Jesus Christ, I lived here for years. I never knew. I thought it was 50. Are you serious? From where? Where is it 35? From where to where?
Unceded Boulevard to Garden View Road.
Okay, which is Garden View?
Just passed.
Oh. Are you serious?
I know that street's been there for 35 years.
No, I know, but I thought it was 50 the whole way down. Wow. I'll be damned.
Well, let me start with your registration and insurance. How about that?
I can't believe it. I'm flying to Zurich right now. I'm trying to get to the airport.
How do you go to the airport without identification?
Because I'm going home. The limo's picking me up.
I see. There you go. Do you have your vehicle insurance with you?
Nope.
Right. That's the only one you have?
No, I have one.
Okay. Bring your insurance report with you. And your driver's license as well. You're not admitting guilt to the charge of being cited here for the speed violation. That's what's very important to the charge. You're not admitting guilt to anything. Okay. Your court date starts November 13th, 8 o'clock. Okay?
You said I'm not admitting guilt.
Well, your constitutional right, though. Even if you agree to...
What are you charging me for?
Speed violation, or proof of insurance in the vehicle.
Well, what is the speed violation?
What do you mean, what is it?
Well, what was I doing?
Well, you're over speeding. 48 miles an hour in the first lane.
I mean, really. Let me say something. You really have nothing better to do than stop me 15 miles an hour with the speed limit in this town? I mean, come on.
Let me ask you a question. When should I start writing tickets?
Well, let me say something to you.
No, don't say anything else.
Why not? I can say whatever I'd like.
You sure can.
Yeah.
Why you sign a ticket, though? You're going to sign a ticket and not delay me any longer. The ticket asked you nicely, and I did ask you nicely.
Don't be silly.
No, there's no more of that. I'm standing out here. I don't care who the hell you
Well, I did the last time. Let me tell you what happened the last time.
I don't care what happened to the last officer. I'm hanging out here with these cars going 45 miles an hour. Now, I want you to sign a ticket so I can terminate. You want to terminate the contract by signing the ticket here. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you.
You're arguing? I'm trying to talk to you now.
I don't want to do it anymore. You know why? It's going downhill. You're getting the ticket.
For what?
You're getting the ticket whether you like it or not.
I don't mind.
Okay, I would like you to sign so I can go.
I'm going to sign it. Relax.
You can voice your opinion in court. If you sign the ticket and you can relax on your trip to Switzerland or wherever else you go. That ticket. You want to go sign in front of a magistrate, you can sign it. If not, you sign it right here. It can be paid later on. Right here on the side of the road is not the place to have debate with cars going behind me at 40 and 50
I'll tell you,
miles
this
an
is
hour.
not the end of it. Respect
You know what?
It's not the end of it.
You won't be the first one.
Oh, no, let me, you don't know what happened last time I took an officer's report.
Here's your copy. Hang on, don't go. I need your things, your thumbprint case, since you don't have any driver's license.
Conversation.
Would you put your right thumb on the pad right here, please, and just lightly touch the box? That's it. Good day.
I got a problem.
Drive safely.
You're way out of line, Mr. Courtney. Way out of line. Didn't you know he had a tape recorder going?
Yes, I did.
Well, if you knew he had a tape recorder going, sir, and I've just listened to the entire conversation that the two of you had, there is nothing that he did to you that was untoward that day.
Respectfully, you weren't there. You
I
didn't
don't care
see
whether
him.
I was there or not. I heard you.
I was there. I saw his facial remarks, his hand on the gun, and furthermore, I have a witness here with me today who will testify that he physically assaulted her in a court hallway 3 months later.
Do you want to know something? I am not interested in your witness because that case, if it's a case at all, has absolutely nothing to do with this.
Yes, it does. We
Because
appeared in
you
court on that
wrote
day.
this letter in which you allege, in this letter, which went to Internal Affairs, that he on no less than 3 occasions cursed you. He did not. That was clearly a lie. Now, maybe its intention was to get somebody's attention, but it was a lie because I've just listened to this entire conversation.
Your Honor, the validity of the authenticity of that tape has not been proven.
To my satisfaction, Mr.
Not
Courtney.
to mine and not in a court of law.
Sir, you've subjected yourself to this jurisdiction. This isn't the first case that I've heard, Mr. Courtney. And this isn't the first tape that I've listened to.
Your Honor,
and
I
I'm
asked
telling
for
you
that information. It was not provided.
And I'm telling you that the only one who was giving a hard time that day was you. As a matter of fact, there is some indication on this tape that you threatened him.
Where is
You
that?
said to him something about the last cop who gave me a ticket. And he replied very quietly, I don't care about the last cop that gave you the ticket. Please just sign this ticket. And he didn't threaten to take you to magistrate's court, sir. He only said to you, you can either sign the ticket here, sir, or you can sign it in magistrate's court. Why don't you please sign it here? Then you can be on your way.
But I did sign it.
Mr. Courtney, you were vindictive. The complaint that you made against him was totally without merit, based upon that tape, which is what cleared him. Very smart of the police department to have you carry around these tapes, guys. I want to tell you something. It should have been done a long time ago. Now, I don't believe that Mr. Courtney knew that you had that tape, because if he did, I doubt very much whether he would have consented to appear here today. He did. You're suing him for $5,000. I take judicial notice of the fact that a complaint to Internal Affairs remains on your record, even if there is a finding at the end of an inquiry that there was no basis for the complaint. It does remain on your record. I am granting you your complaint in the amount of $5,000. This case is over.
Down, this is case number 142 in the matter of Bevilacqua versus Bonnet, and case number 143 in the matter of Kaiser versus Bonnet. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Perhaps we could finally put this unfortunate incident to rest. According to what I read, you were crossing the street.
Yes, ma'am.
And you allege that the defendant came into an intersection she shouldn't have been and hit you with her car.
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't severely injure you with her car. You jumped back. She hit you on your knee. Something. Where?
Right. Brushed me about here.
She brushed you. But you weren't hurt.
No, ma'am.
But you were angry. And then an interaction took place between the two of you that was most unfortunate on both of your parts, which resulted in you being arrested.
No, I was never arrested.
Taken into custody at some point, charged with an assault.
Charged, yes.
With an assault. All right.
Strong arm robbery.
Charged with something.
Okay.
And those charges were eventually dropped by the district attorney's office. But am I correct in reading between the lines in your complaint, sir, that there is a restraining order preventing you from going near the defendant?
Well, it's not a restraining order.
What is it?
I'm supposed to stay away from her, which is...
Is it an order for you to stay away from her?
It's not an official restraining order, no.
It is not.
No.
I mean, it's not written anywhere.
No.
The judge just told you to stay away from her.
Oh, no, it's stay away. It's not... Okay. I'm supposed to stay away from her until January 25th of 2002.
Where is that written?
I have it, Your Honor.
May I see it, please?
Those are the trial transcripts, Your Honor.
I'm just looking at the order because he's not sure it was an order. So after this case is over, Mr. Bevilacqua, you are directed to attend 3 hours of anger management classes by the 15th of March of 2001 and stay away from the victim.
Yes.
That was the order, signed by a judge.
Right.
Right. I mean, did you think I was just a fake person here that they picked out of, you know, that they picked out of a supermarket? Didn't you think that I had any legal experience at all, sir?
Of course.
All right. So, Mr. Bevilacqua, what you want is all kinds of damages from the defendant because you were put through a court process, you were embarrassed, whatever. You want damages in the amount of $5,000. The defendant is cross-claiming. She says that you did, in fact, assault her, and she is counterclaiming for the exact same amount, $5,000. So we've reached a point where you were brushed by defendant's car. Pick it up from there, Mr. Bevilacqua.
Okay. I fell back. I yelled, yo. I looked up to see the driver of the car flash her middle finger at me and take off.
Okay.
Continued walking home, got up the street, and saw a car that looked just like the one that had just
sideswiped me, frantically trying to get into this parking spot. And I just went up and said, "Excuse me, was that you who just turned on to 3rd off of Rose?" And she said, "Yes." And then I said, "Well, you just sideswiped me with your car." And she said, "Want exact words?"
Of course.
Super. She said, "You, I don't care. I'm tired. I just came from the airport." And then I said, "No, wrong answer. Okay, you ask me if I'm okay. You tell me that you're sorry, and then I go." And then she exploded.
What do you mean she exploded?
She screamed, "Don't you tell me what to do, you stupid..." Swung her fist at me.
Did she hit you?
Blocked it.
And what did you do?
That was it. Walked. I said, told her she was crazy and she should watch it or she's going to kill somebody. And I walked away.
And then what happened?
I got about 10 feet away and boom, got it from behind. Turned around and it was her screaming. Screaming threats, screaming, obscenities, everything. And waving her sunglasses at me. There was a little scratch in her sunglasses that had fallen out of her hand.
How did they fall out of her hand?
Because they were in her hand when she hit me, along with her keys.
Did she ever ask you for your name? During that period of time, she was asking you for your name.
She may have, but you know what?
Okay.
She was crazy.
That's not what I asked.
I'm sorry. Yes, she probably
Don't be a
did.
wise guy in here, sir.
I'm sorry,
There's only
ma'am.
one wise person in here.
Yes, ma'am.
That's Bird.
So I couldn't go home because she was following me. She followed, so I just was walking around. She followed me for almost an hour, screaming. And at one point, we were near my apartment, and I wanted her to go away. I turned and tried to reason with her. And I said, "Listen, your road rage or whatever drugs are on are making you completely insane. Please leave me alone." And she screamed no, that I had to give her $200 and some for her sunglasses. And I said, "I didn't break your sunglasses. I'm not paying for them." And then she said, "Oh, yeah, well, I'm going to tell the police you assaulted me, and they'll make you pay." And then I came to the store at the corner of 5th and Rose. And my girlfriend, Tamara, comes walking out of the store because she had been there, like, buying something. And Tamara sees this going on, comes over and goes, "Oh, my God, are you okay?" And she goes after Tamara. She starts screaming threats and obscenities at Tam, starting with, "Do you know?" She's going to have Tamara thrown in jail. Goes over behind the car, screaming, "You're not going anywhere, you blah, blah, blah. I'm going to track you down." Blah. So she's blocking the exit. I went up to her from the side and said exactly, "Hey, lady, yo, I'm leaving." Got about 15 feet away, and then boom, got it again. Turned to Tamara and screamed, "Go, get out of here. I'll deal with her. Go." So I let her scream at me for another few minutes and then take off. Cut through the alley, go to a friend's place.
Okay. Apparently, you got her license plate number.
That's correct.
And through that, you got his name.
That's correct.
Okay. Police contacted you. What out-of-pocket expenses did you have as a result of this incident, sir?
$12,500.
For what?
Legal fees.
You have a bill for that?
Oh, sure. Okay.
Okay. And I'd like to see that. Then I have a couple of pointed questions because I'll let you tell your story.
Here you go. Thanks.
I see the checks made payable directly to the lawyer. Mr. Bevilacqua,
Yes.
I read your complaint very carefully, and what I want to know first is, you saw her park her car, and you had a conversation with her, and clearly you could see that you weren't getting anywhere. Why didn't you, before this thing escalated, just go over to her car and take down her license plate number? Go over to a phone booth, take out your cell phone, call the police and say, "License plate number so-and-so just hit me and took off. I was a pedestrian." Wouldn't that have been the smart thing to do, sir?
Yes, it was, and I regret it now.
That would have been the smart thing to do.
May I explain?
No, that would have
Okay.
been the smart thing to do.
Yes,
and the
ma'am.
explanation would be stupid.
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephen Bevilacqua says he was falsely arrested for assault because Ann Bonnet lied to police. Stephen claims it all started when Ann nearly ran him over.
Now, why don't you tell me, you're going through the intersection and you were in the intersection at that point illegally?
I made a right-hand turn from a busy street onto a residential street. While I was going through the crosswalk, I saw a gentleman step off the far side of the crosswalk. I continued down the road and then heard this screaming and looked in my rearview mirror, and I saw a gentleman screaming at me and giving me the finger.
That was this gentleman.
Yes,
Now, I want to know, first, do you have any of the police reports?
I do.
I'd like to see them all, please.
It's the LAPD.
Where had you been coming from, Dr. Bonnet?
Coming from the airport.
Where had you been?
San Francisco.
For how long?
4 days, sir, ma'am.
What were you doing there?
I was taking an exam.
How many days was the exam?
It was a 3-hour exam on Sunday, the day of the incident.
So it was a pretty stressful day.
It was.
Okay, continue.
So I went through the intersection and heard the screaming, looked behind,
Saw him. You didn't know you would hit him. Go ahead.
I had not hit him, Your Honor.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I believe that you probably brushed him. You didn't hurt him, but you didn't stop your car.
No,
now,
I didn't
keep
stop
going.
my car.
Keep going.
I also held up my right middle finger in the rearview mirror. I continued up and over a hill, another 1,000 feet, to my residence and parked on the right-hand side of the street. I was getting my stuff out of the car when a man came, who I did not recognize, came running up to me and said, "Did you just turn onto this street?" I said, "Yes." He started swearing at me at that point and said, "You are the so-and-so who almost hit me. Do you realize that?" And then you gave me the finger. And I said, "You gave me the finger first." At which point he became enraged, lunged at me with his right hand, scratched my right face, took my glasses, threw them on the ground, and they broke. The glasses are here, and I have photographs as well.
Well, I'd like to see the photographs, and could you please indicate in this police report where it indicates that you were injured? Take a look at these police reports and show me where it indicates you were
I have
injured.
a photo of the injury, ma'am.
I don't want to see the photo. Well, I'll look at the photos of the injury. I want to see in the police reports, because they're voluminous, where police always indicate what the marks are that they've seen, what was the complaint. I want to see where the police officers noted any injuries to you.
Here at the bottom, it says she took pictures of the scratch to my face.
Let me see.
Last paragraph.
Now, I want to see where the officer wrote down on a report. You see, on the first page of this report, he writes down type of property taken, receipt, nature of the injury, none, according to the police officer. Nature of injury, none. Why?
I wanted to find out if they wanted to take notice. They took the picture.
Yeah, they noticed nothing. Neither do I. I noticed what looks like a pimple on your forehead.
I was lucky it was a small scratch.
I said I noticed what it looks like a pimple on your forehead. I'm very smart. I don't think his body came into contact with your forehead, madam. I believe that he might have knocked the sunglasses off of your face. Maybe he did that, and maybe the sunglasses were in your hand, as he says, and they fell to the ground, or he knocked them to the ground. I believe that that's possible, too. But I don't believe that he ever put his hands on you. And anybody who would believe that, looking at this picture of this pimple, is a fool. Go ahead. Keep going.
I picked up the sunglasses, and I said, "You just broke my sunglasses. You can't do that." He said, "Yes, I can. This is road rage. I can do anything I want to you."
Fine. At that point, Dr. Bonnet, what would a smart, intelligent, educated person do? Would go home.
He knew where I lived, ma'am. He was at my house. I was afraid of him.
So you follow him in the street? That's what you did. You followed him in the street.
That's correct.
And after you followed him in the street, he says you were yelling obscenities at him. Subsequently to that, you accused him of a strong-armed robbery. That's what the police report says.
That's correct.
Well, that was a lie.
That
That was a lie.
It's not a lie, Your Honor.
Sure it is. Just like it would be a lie if he said, "I'm filing a report, assault with a deadly weapon." Your car's a deadly weapon. You were where you shouldn't have been. There was a four-way stop sign. He's a pedestrian. He had the right of way. Yes, there was a four-way stop sign. That's what it says right here. If he's out in the street, you have no business moving. So you touched him. That's assault with a deadly weapon. Would that have been overkill, Dr. Bonnet?
That would have been, since it didn't happen.
That would have been overkill if he reported that. Clearly, he wasn't injured. He got up, he walked, he wasn't injured. But he expected somebody to stop and say, "I'm sorry, forgive me, I didn't realize that I hit you. Are you okay?" Instead, you're stressed. According to the police reports, you've gotten 3 hours sleep for the last 5 days because you were studying for these exams. You come home to the airport, they lost your luggage. It was a long day. It was a miserable day. And you acted inappropriately, especially when you filed a complaint against not only him, stand up, but her.
Your Honor, I did not file a complaint.
Oh, yes, you did. When you report to the police a strong-armed robbery and that she's driving the car, because you wanted to be able to get his name, and the police go to her house and intimidate her and walk in with handcuffs and tell her that there's complaint of a strong-armed robbery and she's driving the getaway car all over your lousy pair of sunglasses?
The robbery was not the sunglasses, Your Honor. He took a piece of paper from me. That was what the police...
Because you were acting like a nut!
I was not.
You were acting like a nut! Maybe you were stressed, maybe you were tired, but you were acting like a nut. Any smart woman, if they're faced with somebody who is acting inappropriately, and you think he's acting inappropriately, I don't necessarily think so. You could have killed him in your state of stress, and you just kept going. And aside from that, you flipped him off. I would have been infuriated too, but you're a woman, and slightly more vulnerable. So if he comes up to you, and if he's furious, and he knocks your sunglasses to the ground, you take your sunglasses and you say, forget it. How many blocks did you follow him?
He followed...
How many blocks did you follow him?
2. May I tell the rest of my story?
Sure. Because then you're trying to get her license plate. You have the piece of paper in your hand. I read the reports, right? He comes up to you and grabs the piece of paper out of your hand. Is that right?
That's
so
correct.
far, right? I wouldn't want a nut like you to know where my girlfriend lived either. You were acting like a nut. And then you report that as a strong-arm robbery with her driving the getaway car?
The police decided that that was a strong-arm robbery, the keeping of the paper, which he later returned to the police. He had it in his possession.
I find that you're responsible for his legal fees. And the most I can give him is $5,000, which is exactly what I'm giving him, and I am dismissing your counterclaim. You acted inappropriately on that day, and you should have apologized from the very beginning. Case over. Your counterclaim is dismissed, and I'm awarding him $5,000. Now, you sit down.
Thank you.
I want you to describe to me, Miss Kaiser.
Yes.
I want you to describe to me, after this whole incident is over, you go home. Your boyfriend tells you take off. The nut is following you, right? She's got your license plate number. How would you receive this first alert from the police?
3 policemen showed up at my door, banged on it, and let me know that if I didn't open the door immediately that they were going to come in.
What did they say?
They came in and actually started asking me questions about my car. I didn't really know what they were getting at, and they considered me to be evasive, and started telling me that if I didn't tell them what they wanted to know, they were going to arrest me on the spot. And since it was a Sunday, I wouldn't be able to contact a lawyer, I wouldn't be able to be bailed out or arraigned, and I would have to spend the night in jail.
What do they want to know? They want to know his name.
They wanted to know who was driving my car. They basically were backing into asking me his name, and I honestly didn't know what they wanted at the beginning. When they did, I told them actually fairly early in the conversation, but once I started getting this detailed, that I would much prefer to speak to them after I spoke to an attorney. And once again, we were back to, you're going into prison now, put your hands out, we've got cuffs.
So how long did they stay in your house?
About 2.5 hours. They kept me in my house. After the hour of questioning, I had to wait an hour and a half until she came down, looked at my car, identified it, and left.
So the next day it was over?
Actually, it was over in terms of my experiences with the police, and that was frightening, but it was not over in that both the police that we talked to and the Santa Monica City Attorney's Office were still considering pressing charges against me.
As being a co-conspirator in a strong-armed robbery?
The driver of the getaway car in a strong-arm robbery.
You see how ridiculous things got?
I never accused her of anything, Your Honor.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the case of Kaiser v. Bonnet in the amount of $2,500.
Fair enough.
Step up.
Yes.
A couple of things to say. Could you have behaved better that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Certainly did nothing criminal that day. I find that based upon what little I've heard, and from looking at these photographs and listening to the story, you did nothing criminal that day. Certainly nothing that would have required you to spend $12,500 for a lawyer. I find, however, that despite the fact that he could have behaved differently that day, I'm merely taking down your license plate, you were the precipitating factor in all of this trouble, because stressed out as you may be, you didn't have the right of way, you brushed him with your car, he doesn't look like a nut to me that he would follow you if you hadn't even tapped him with your car. See, all he was looking for was an apology. But you kept going, and were rude besides. You precipitated it. You pay. That's all.
Case number 174 on the calendar in the matter of Lopez versus Gonzalez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Lopez, you and the defendant have a child together. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your complaint that the defendant had you arrested on false charges of assault, domestic violence, and you want to be compensated for that. And in addition, you want a home entertainment center that you say was yours that is in the defendant's home. The defendant says that the home entertainment center was a gift. You did, in fact, assault her, and she is counterclaiming for her injuries.
I don't have nothing. He took everything.
The defendant says the home entertainment center was a gift. Do you still have it?
No, he took everything.
She doesn't have it. And that you did, in fact, assault her. And her counterclaim is for the injuries that she suffered during the course of this assault, which occurred around Christmas time. Is that right?
Christmas Day.
Okay. All right, Mr. Lopez. Were you living with the defendant at the time that you were arrested?
I was moving out. I was in the moving out.
He was already a week out.
I'm going to get to you in a minute, but don't interrupt him. What do you mean you were in the process of moving out? What does that mean?
The day after Thanksgiving, we had a really big argument and we had broken up. So we made an agreement by no later than the first week of January that I had to have everything of mine moved out and be completely moved out. I was staying between there, like a few days if I babysitted my son, or I stood at my best friend's house or my mother's house.
So most of the time you weren't living there?
Yes.
All right. So tell me about Christmas Day. You came over to the house?
What happened was we agreed to meet up at my best friend's house. We picked up my son and her son, her other child, and we agreed to go back to her house, to her apartment, and open up the children's gifts together. And from there, when we arrived at the home, we opened the gifts. She asked me to stay a little bit longer while she took a shower so I could watch the children. I agreed. At that time, I received a phone call from my fiancé on my fiancé's cell phone, just before she went to the bathroom to take a shower. At that time, I was speaking to her. I explained to her what time I was going to be finished. I explained to her that she was going to take a shower and I was going to meet up with her right after. At that time, she began screaming, saying stuff that didn't need to be said over the phone for my fiancé to hear. So at that time, I said, why are you acting up? You know what? I'm not going to stay. I'm leaving. She began an argument. I tried to leave. I had my son in my arms with the cell phone. She wouldn't let me leave. So I said, you know what? I'm leaving. I'm leaving my son. I put my son down in the crib. At that time, I dropped the cell phone in the crib without knowledge when I put my son down. I tried to leave. She blocked the doorway. I kept on explaining to her, move, move. I want to leave. I'm not staying. I'm out. She didn't want to let me. So then I barged through. She had her arms spread out against the doorway, holding me, not letting me go. So when I barged through so I could leave, she scratched her arm. So I left. When I got outside, I went to go call my fiancé.
That is not even
And when I got downstairs,
Ms. Gonzalez, I don't want to hear it's not true again. Do you understand?
No problem.
No, that's not an answer. The answer is yes, Your Honor, I understand. I will not interrupt again.
Yes, Your Honor, I understand. I will not interrupt again.
That's right. Go ahead.
So outside, I went to make an attempt to call my fiancé, and I noticed I didn't have the phone. So when I went back upstairs...
That was stupid.
Because the phone was upstairs.
That was stupid.
I went and I looked for the phone. And
say yes, that was stupid.
Yes, it was stupid. So I asked her if she had the cell phone.
You just gotten out of the house, you pushed her, she scratched her arm, according to you. You leave the cell phone and you go. You don't go back into a confrontational area, sir. That's stupid, Mr. Lopez.
Yes, Your
All
Honor.
right, so you go back upstairs. What happened when you went back upstairs?
When I got upstairs, I asked her, did she have the cell phone? She says, I don't have it. So as I looked through the house, I remembered I had it in my hand when I put my son down. When I looked into the crib, my son wasn't in the crib. I went and found my cell phone under the sheet. Again, I attempted to leave. Again, she blocked my way. I said, just move, then move. At that time, she told me she had called the cops and I was going to be arrested. I said, well, I'm leaving. And outside the door, a lady, which I had never seen before in this building for the whole year I was living there, had my son. As I attempted to take my son from the lady, 2 female officers were coming upstairs.
What were you taking your son from the lady for?
I didn't know the lady. If I don't know the person, I don't want nobody I don't know having my son in my hands. I don't know what they'll do. So the 2 officers were downstairs. They came, and they brought us all into the apartment, me, her, and the 2 kids. While we were in the apartment, the officers explained because this domestic problem, they were going to arrest both of us. At that time, they would take both children and put them in child custody. I said, I'm not pressing no charges. I don't want nothing. I just want to go home. My son can stay. I have no problem. At that time, the female officer told me to stand by the door, don't move. So at that time, there was a knock at the door. 2 more officers came, 2 male officers now. We go back inside. She's in there screaming. Next thing you know, all I hear is her mother screaming at me. Jason, I wouldn't do this to you. And she said, why are you doing this? I said, what's going on? The officer said, turn around, and they handcuffed me. Later, when I was taken down to central booking for arrest, I was informed of the charges. It was assault with weapon, child endangerment. They said I put a knife to my son's back. At no time did I ever touch a knife to grab against my son. Because of that, I had charges of an ACS for attempted on my child, and
All right, you were held in jail for 2 days, is that right?
for, yeah, almost 2 days. I called my fiance.
All right, the charges were subsequently dismissed when you decided to drop all charges against each other, is that right?
Yeah.
Do you see your son now so regularly?
No.
Why not?
I still can't, because she won't let me see my son.
Uh-huh.
It's a struggle for me to see my son.
All right.
And every time we went to family court for me to get a chance to see my son, she made false charges, knowing I was going to get visitation of my son, then I'm arrested.
Okay. I'd like to see first the medical bills that you have as a result of this incident on Christmas Day.
I didn't get to get the medical bills because this happened so quick that I didn't get a chance to get them. So I have my pictures.
Let me see all the papers you have. All the papers.
Your Honor, Judy.
Shh, just a minute.
I have a scar on my left hand.
Just a minute.
And the lady that
Just a
called,
second. These scratches are what you're talking about?
Yeah, I had a scratch.
All right.
I had a hairline fracture in my left hand.
Don't tell me you had a hairline fracture without any medical bills, without reports. Don't tell me about a hairline fracture.
Excuse me, Judge.
Shh. I'll get to you in a minute.
Thank you.
I have a few questions for Ms. Gonzalez. The police officer who took this report took your statement, is that right?
Yes, and on the statement.
I'm speaking. The police officer who took the report took your statement, and he read the statement to you, is that right?
Yes, he did.
And after he read the statement, he asked you if it was accurate, is that right?
Yes, he did.
And you said it was accurate, is that right?
That's right.
And you signed it.
Yes.
And you wouldn't have left out anything vitally important, is that right?
No.
So I'm going to read what you wrote in the statement.
I didn't write that. The officer.
What the I don't care whether you wrote it or the officer wrote it. I just asked you whether he read it to you and whether you signed it. You said yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Lopez says ex-girlfriend Suhey Gonzalez had him falsely arrested for domestic abuse. Suhey claims Jason slammed her hand in a door and held a knife to their son's throat.
All right, Ms. Gonzalez, I'm going to read what you wrote in this police report. It says, at the time and place listed above, the perpetrator, that's him, who was the victim's common-law husband, did grab the victim by her throat, choked her, at which time he forced her left hand between the door and the wall and repeatedly slammed the door on the victim's hand, causing substantial pain and swelling to the victim's left hand. That's what this says, okay? Now I'm going to tell you what you wrote in your answer. When I told him to leave, he grabbed our son and tried to take him. When I tried to stop him, he pulled a knife out and held it to my son's neck. He said, if you don't let me take him, I'll kill both of us.
No, they didn't write it in the police.
They wrote nothing about a knife threatening to kill himself, threatening to kill this child. You know why they didn't write that down? Because you didn't tell them that.
Is that you?
No. Because you didn't tell them that.
All right, I didn't tell them exactly at the time.
At the
because
time,
they had me in a separate room, they had him outside.
Just a second. At the time, you didn't tell them that he took out a knife, he held it to the baby's throat, he threatened to kill the baby. You told him that he hurt your hand and your hand was in pain, not that he threatened to kill your child. You made that up later.
No, I did not.
Oh, yes, you did.
Oh, no, I did not.
Oh, yes, you did.
They knew that he was the one. Can I say something?
Yeah.
In that police report, the lady signed. She's the one who signed right next to the statement, not me, because I didn't call the cops because he broke my phone, and that's why. I didn't call the cops. The lady from my building called the cops. She's the one who had both of my kids because my oldest was crying. She's the one who called the cops.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to call the cops.
Here we go.
Because he wanted to take my son, just like he took my son 3 weeks ago.
Let me explain to you what got you angry, Miss Gonzalez. I've been in this business a long time. He's at your house. According to your answer, he told you a couple of weeks before or a month before, he didn't want to have, I'm speaking, that he didn't want to have anything to do with you anymore. He had a new girlfriend. Clearly, he has a new girlfriend. All right?
Excuse me.
I'm speaking. He comes over to your house, right? According to your answer. You open up the Christmas presents together. It's all a nice family situation. You ask him to watch the kids while you go take a shower. This is what you write here. When you come out of the shower, you hear him on the phone with his girlfriend. I'm not saying that that's what happened, sir. I'm saying that that's what she wrote in her answer. that makes one very angry.
Of course.
Of course. Of course that makes you very angry, because there you're here with him, with a new baby. He's taking care of the baby's presents. He's in your house Christmas time, and he's going to say goodbye to you, and he's going to go to girlfriend number...
And it was just a week that we had broken up.
Fine. So you're really angry. The knife was a nice touch. He wasn't arrested with a knife. He wasn't arrested with a knife. You know what I'm talking about.
And
you know what I'm
happened.
talking about.
And I know what happened.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what happened. Because he tried to take my son. He tried to take my son.
Just a second. What do you mean?
That's how... Who called my
Hey,
mother?
Miss
Who called my
Gonzalez.
mother? The lady?
Miss Gonzalez.
That called the cops?
Miss Gonzalez. Is he the father?
Yes, he's the father. And I'm not saying that he's not.
I'm speaking. Is he the father?
Yes.
Then you have no greater right to this child than he does.
But he kidnapped my son for 3 weeks.
He can't. You can't kidnap your own child unless there's an order of custody.
This is recently. We've been going through this. I just want to go on with my life. I want him to go on with his life. If he wants to see his son, he's more than welcome to see his son. I have nothing wrong with that. But he cannot see his son because he had order protection.
Then they're going to put you out. When you claim that you were severely assaulted, and the best picture that you can come up with is a picture showing me 2 scratches on your arm, 2 scratches. That's what they are. No hairline fracture, no hospital records, no... Well, all right. This was an argument. And unfortunately, because the police take domestic violence seriously, as they should, they got to arrest somebody.
And I lost my securities license.
Mr. Lopez, you do not get an A+ for smarts. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, you don't get an A+ for going back for a $39.99 cell phone after you have already had an altercation with her, and you were out of the problem. You were outside.
Because he never went outside.
Excuse me?
Because he never went outside.
Because you wouldn't let him go outside, Miss Gonzalez,
because he was
you
trying
were
to kidnap
so angry.
Son. He was trying to take my son. And he's devious like that. That he would take my son and leave. Just like he did 3 weeks ago. And that's why he was going to get rearrested. I had to get the cops to come get my son from his house.
You keep saying my son.
Because he's my son. Because he don't pay no child support. He doesn't do nothing.
What do you do for a living?
He hasn't done nothing.
What do you do for a living?
I was working.
What do you do for a living now?
Nothing.
Who supports the child?
I do.
No, not if you're not working. You get welfare?
Yes, I do.
If you get welfare, then I support your son. You think I should take him?
Yeah, but I was working.
Just a second. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? He doesn't support his child, and you don't support your child. I support your child. So that mean that I should get custody? Don't be ridiculous. All right, Ms. Gonzalez, you keep saying, it's my child. He's taking my child. He's entitled to see his child. It doesn't sound to me like he's too bright. Because he went from this child, you're going to have another child? You keep rubbing your belly, right?
Yes.
You got enough trouble with one. You're going to make another one?
Yep.
How many more do you have?
That's the only one. The only one coming.
In any event, I read the police report. I read the police report that doesn't talk about a knife to the throat, threatened to kill the child, threatened to kill anybody, and I see 2 scratches on your arm. You also, sir, yeah, you want to play that for me?
Yes, I even have an
Go
audio
ahead,
tape of
let
her
me hear it.
saying-
But I still can't get over the fact why you had me arrested.
Because I was just upset. Things were going through my mind. I'm admitting I'm sorry.
Oh, so you're admitting that you did get me arrested?
This is why he was...
This chick, because I was with another chick?
No, it wasn't only because of that. It was because of a lot of things, Jason.
Oh, okay. But then why did you tell him I punched you in your face? I choked the out of you?
No, I didn't say that.
Gigi, the DA said that in the court.
Mr. Lopez, I didn't even have to listen to that. I mean, I've heard this, I've been around this business now for 27 years, right?
Yes.
And I know, when I read your papers, I see her affect, right?
Yes.
And I know exactly what happened. That doesn't mean that you were smart, A, as I said, to go back to the cell phone, B, to get a telephone call from your girlfriend. Tell your girlfriend, don't call me until I call you. I don't want to create any more problems with her. I'm going to open presents with the children. Don't call me. That creates a problem.
We had already opened the gifts. This was around the time I was getting ready to leave.
She shouldn't have called you. And you shouldn't have spoken to her. Say, this is a tacky problem. I don't want there to be any problem with her. Don't call me. I'll be there. I'll be home when I'm home. And the reason she called is because it's a little territorial. She's not so happy either. You're going over to visit mother number 1. She's going to be mother number 2. You know, you got to be
She
smart.
wasn't pregnant at the time.
2 months later. Wow,
Now
big
she
difference.
is. Now she is. Right? And on your security job, you can hardly afford to pay for yourself.
I don't have work.
Listen to me, sir. When you had a security job, you could hardly afford to pay for 1 child. Now you're going to have 2. Did you pay for a lawyer? No. They gave you a free lawyer.
Yes.
You spent a couple of days in jail.
Yes.
You shouldn't have.
And so did I, because he falsely arrested me.
For what?
He said that I made phone harassment. On June 30th, he called me. I have the phone records for that. He called me with my own phone card that he rung up. He falsely arrested me on June 31st. I got arrested. I made the report on June 30th. As soon as the time right after he called me and called them and let them know that he was calling me and harassing me. And he called me with my own phone card. And right after that, he calls his girlfriend and his mother.
No. No.
Ms. Gonzalez, your counterclaim is for the assault that you claim he perpetrated on you
And
on
forced
Christmas
arrest.
Day.
It says it on the paper.
And according to your complaint, you are filing for injuries and damages due to the alleged assault. Okay? You do say somewhere in your answer that he filed false charges, but the damages you are requesting are for the assault. And I don't find that he assaulted you, so your counterclaim is dismissed. The only thing that I have to consider now is whether there was an argument and whether, as a result of false statements that you made and continue to make and continue to embellish to the police,
Not me,
that
because
I'm
I wanna go on with my life. He's the one who brings me here. For what?
He brought you here
For
because
what? He keeps calling me and harassing me.
Listen to me. He's known you a long time. I've met you now for about 15 minutes, and I don't think he's crazy. And I wouldn't precipitate phone calls and contact with you because I think that you're an angry lady. I think that you feel as if he jilted you, that he left you high and dry with your baby, and now he's got somebody else. All of those things, doesn't pay child support, you're not working, but that doesn't give you the right to have him arrested and make false allegations, which I believe that you did, and I'm awarding him $1,000 on his claim. That's all. By the way,
yesterday on Judge Judy, the plaintiff, Andy Heath, claims she was sexually assaulted by the defendant, S. Lyle Marple, while riding with him on his jet ski.
Before we took off, he put his hands on my thighs, and I thought that maybe that's just the way he wanted to hold on. But he pulled his hands up higher into my bathing suit, and he burst himself inside me.
The defendant denies the plaintiff's allegations.
She had nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Like what?
Money, because she was going to sue. More drugs, because she could go to the doctor. So she had the sympathy of everybody feeling sorry for her about this thing that happened, which didn't happen.
And his witness thinks he has the proof.
We have a videotape showing that she had a wonderful time through the whole party.
Now, the conclusion.
I want to see the video. You have it?
Yes, we do.
Let me see it.
I can explain scenes that I see.
Are there scenes of the plaintiff?
Yes.
After this incident?
Yes.
All right, let me see after the ride.
That's okay. You're doing great.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. Come on, pose a little bit.
This is good music, Ron.
Oh, you like that, huh? Yeah. Little third world. It's the most beer I've ever seen Stanley drink. How you doing, Stan? You having a good
Is this
time?
before or after the ride?
This is after the ride. If you can see Stanley where he had his vest on, his T-shirt still wet. It's dry where the vest covers his shirt. But this is after the ride.
Now, is that, just a second, is that Stanley dancing around?
That's Stanley dancing around.
All right, that's Stanley dancing.
And that was the defendant.
Was that her dancing?
She's floating in and out.
Do the dancing, baby. Come on, do the dancing, baby.
I'm talking to my husband, Your Honor.
Do the dancing, baby.
Come on, Pam, do it.
If you notice what's going in the background, Your Honor, this gentleman's wife was attempting...
You didn't do it.
Hey, Pam.
You know? Pam almost pulled Stan's pants down, but she chickened out at the last minute.
Do the gorilla. You do the, see who can dance.
Okay. Mr. Heath, it did appear that your wife was not, at least overtly, traumatized. This was after the incident.
Yes,
I believe she was in shock, Your Honor.
You're not an expert.
That's true.
You are not a psychiatric expert.
That's true, Your Honor. I've been with my wife for 12 years, and I know her very well. And I know the difference of how she was feeling before and after the ride.
Well, you couldn't tell that she was feeling badly afterwards.
I could tell that the people that we normally hang out with, she totally avoided.
You couldn't tell from looking at that your wife had just suffered a traumatic event.
That's true.
Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is.
I didn't want him to know, Your Honor.
It may be, but you have the possibility of just withdrawing at the party and sitting down, sitting, having a drink, not saying anything, but you were participating at the party at this.
Flying all over the place.
You were flying all over the place. Had you had anything to drink before you went on the Sea-Doo?
Yes, Your Honor.
What did you have to drink?
Snow Creek wine.
What is that?
It's like a Boone's Farm. And I was in the pool so much, I just come back and put ice in it.
Okay, so how many drinks did you have?
One. And also this gentleman's wife and I went to the store to buy a bottle of Malibu rum. And I had a little bit of Malibu rum in with that, but then again, I just kept putting ice in it. I'm not a drinker, Your Honor.
Okay. What about you, sir? How much did you have to drink?
I had like a beer or two, and then later on I had a few more beers.
Did you drink anything other than beer?
No.
Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, at the end of the party, it was strange because I've really had an enjoyable time with these people. And at the end, after it was that diffusing, she gave me a kiss, my wife a kiss, Stanley a kiss. My wife she spent 80% of the time with this lady in the pool, and it's on the tape. You see them that they're together all the time. My wife has things to say.
I'd like to.
It also says in here that she needed to be on medication for the rest of her life. And
sit down.
All right, but Pam.
Yes.
I did spend most of the time at the party with Andy, and we did have a really good time. We drank quite a bit. The bottle of Malibu rum that she did bring, I had one glass, and I know that it was empty at the end of the party.
That's incredible.
And I'll admit that we were both drunk at the party. When she left, she was very drunk. Her whole demeanor throughout the party with her, she didn't act like anybody that had anything happen to them. I am an RN, I work in an emergency room, and I do take care of women who are sexually assaulted or raped.
Did you see any marks or bruises on the plaintiff?
No, I never saw any marks or bruises, and also on the video I never noted any marks or bruises on her.
Anything else you want to tell me?
Yes, one other thing. Stanley did obtain her medical records, and it does show that she has been on psychiatric drugs and sedatives for years before this incident. Also has a history of psychiatric problems. It's right there on the paperwork.
What do you take Paxil for?
I was taking Paxil because my mother had 29 surgeries in less than a year.
Well, Paxil is a psychiatric drug. You know that?
Yes, sir.
Pay attention.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you start to take Paxil?
About 3 years ago.
So your answer to me that you were not taking any medication, listen to me. Your husband's answer.
Yes, ma'am.
So you telling me that your husband didn't know that you were taking Paxil?
Yes, he did, ma'am.
I don't even know what Paxil is for.
Lorazepam, what do you take that for?
For sleeping. Not any longer.
But you did then?
Yes, ma'am.
When was your last prescription?
Approximately a year ago.
This happened on the 19th of August, 2000?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you go to the doctor on the 2nd of August?
I don't recall, Your Honor.
Did you complain to the doctor at that point that you had a rash on your back, some on your legs, and also in the vaginal area?
No, not in the vaginal area. I don't remember that. I do remember
That's what the doctor reports.
Okay, well then
Miss
that is
Heath.
possible, Your Honor.
That was on the 2nd. He increased your Paxil to 40 milligrams, is that right?
I believe so, yes, Your Honor.
You also called July 27th, indicating that you were going out of town to take care of your brother and you'll run out of your Paxil. And when they called to check at the pharmacy, they indicate that you had 4 refills for Walgreens.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you had enough?
Yes, Your Honor.
You were also taking sleeping pills before?
Yes, Your Honor.
At some point, did the doctor tell you that they wanted to wean you off these sleeping pills?
I wanted to wean it off.
Doctor reported sometime prior to this that you wanted some additional medication, and the doctor explained that that would be a fraud. Explained to patient that she'll need to be seen before we can refill the lorazepam. Patient states she'll see what she can do to get in.
Yes, Your Honor.
Doctor reports that you started to take some medication due to an attempted suicide in September of 1999, owing to stress. Did you attempt suicide in 1999?
No, Your Honor. That was September of 2000, Your Honor.
September of 1999.
No, Your Honor.
Is what this report indicates. You take a lot of Paxil and a lot of the other medication, according to this report.
Not anymore, Your Honor.
Wow.
I'm on different medication.
What kind of medication are you on?
I'm on trazodone and Effexor Trazodone is for sleep, Effexor is for antidepressant.
But that wasn't as a result of
And
this
Xanax.
incident.
Yes, Your Honor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Andy Heath says former friend S. Lyle Marble sexually assaulted her at a party. S. Lyle says Andy is lying.
There's a lot of information here. Is there anything else that you want me to read?
My answer to her complaint.
Well, that's self-serving, sir. Your answer is self-serving.
Your Honor, may I make a
Yes.
statement? Her and I did become very good friends. We have a friend in common. She made the interest in the fact that she enjoyed drinking Malibu rum, as did I. The Malibu rum was not empty, Your Honor. I still have it in my refrigerator.
Whether
as
it
of
was
this
or whether
day.
it was not, madam, are you given specific instructions when you take Paxil with regard to any alcohol?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you allowed to have any alcohol if you are taking medication?
No, and I drink wine.
You are not supposed to have any alcohol if you are taking Paxil. Is that right?
Yes.
And you were, in fact, taking Paxil, as well as other medication, on this day.
But that is not instructed on the Paxil bottle.
Miss Heath.
It is on Effexor.
Miss Heath, one of the problems is that when I asked that specific question before, whether there was ever any indication that you had a problem before this, your husband said never a problem, you don't take any medication, there was never any psychotropic medication, nothing. And so that would lend certain credibility to your statements that as a result of this incident, you became so traumatized that you now have stress, can't sleep, you're on medication, you know, all that goes together. But all that happened before. Your husband was not honest with me when he...
Your Honor, I
Mr.
didn't know.
Heath.
I'm not trying to be misleading.
Well, you were misleading to me. Your wife has been on heavy-duty medication for a long time. You know, this is a very, very difficult matter for anybody to handle in a relatively short period of time. There is no medical evidence of sexual assault. So I have to listen to the two testimonies. And I have to find to my satisfaction, by a preponderance of the evidence, that this did in fact occur. My initial reaction from hearing your story was that maybe everybody's a little drunk and he got a little out of hand. Pay careful attention to me. Don't interrupt me. That's why you ask questions, because before you find somebody, in effect, guilty of this kind of horrific experience, you have to be really satisfied. And as a judge and as a woman, I find that this kind of experience can be, and to most women would be, very traumatic. The response to that trauma would be to say to your husband, get your bathing suit, we're leaving. And then I see a tape, Miss Heath, of you apparently partying afterwards. I would have to have some pretty substantial psychiatric testimony from a treating therapist that would indicate to me that due to this kind of stress, you may have been suffering a post-traumatic stress even during this period of time, which so altered your mood that would permit a video to be taken of you seemingly laughing and having a good time, encouraging your husband to dance. But I don't have that. Listen to me. I don't have that expert testimony.
Yes, ma'am, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
You're not paying attention.
I'm sorry.
I don't have what your therapist says happens here because I cannot examine your therapist.
Yes, ma'am.
I do not take this as fact.
Yes,
what I take as fact are your medical records that indicate that you were prescribed over a long period of time serious medication. You complained for a long period of time that as a result of stress you couldn't sleep. You asked the doctor on more than one occasion to provide more medication than the doctor would provide because he says you already have enough. You got that prescription filled 2 days ago. I'm not going to refill it again. That's objective data from the medical records. The statement from your therapist, Ms. Heath, is self-serving, and without that therapist here, I have a difficult time making a judgment, quite frankly, viewing the tape, looking at these medical records, listening to your husband, plus the fact that you decided, whether on advice of your therapist or not to take a polygraph test, despite the fact that he took one. And his polygraph test did not vindicate him, according to the detective's report, because I don't have the polygraph here either. It didn't say you did it. It didn't say you didn't do it. It said some of your answers were deceptive. But it didn't even say that you had declined to take a polygraph test.
She didn't decline. She offered to.
She didn't take it.
Right.
Because if she had taken it, they would have said she took it.
I have something very important to address to you.
Go ahead.
This tape that they have shown was before the ride, Your Honor, not after the ride.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
After the ride, I went over to make sure that I could hold myself together. And I gave him 5. I said, give me 5 to make sure I could hold myself together. And then he was nowhere around me until I was ready to leave, and he was sitting in my seat.
It was after the ride. In fact, if you look at the whole tape, there are parts in there where you can tell. At one point, he asked what time it was. It was like 6:30. You can kind of tell throughout the tape, you know, where he went and got his jet ski and took it back, and especially with him being wet. He only went out in the water. He never went in the pool once. He was only in the water twice. When she got back, we jumped in the water a couple times after that. She was having so much fun. We ran on the dock.
He walked right through the break next to where
We jumped off the dock and swam to the shore. We were having a great time.
Before the ride?
No, that was after the ride. And if she was assaulted, why would she let a little 13-year-old girl go on the boat right after him?
Don't ask them a question.
May I answer that?
No.
Your Honor.
Shh. Listen to me. Accusing someone of what I consider a vicious attack is serious business.
Yes, it is.
And I have to be totally satisfied
yes,
that this incident occurred as you indicate.
Yes,
because we're not talking about the money judgment that you're requesting so much.
No, ma'am.
But we're talking about making a statement publicly that this man violated you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In order for me to do that, I have to feel totally comfortable, Miss Heath. So what is the objective evidence that I have? The objective evidence is that you were taking very serious medication for a substantial period of time before this happened, medication that should not be taken in conjunction with alcohol. You decided, for whatever reason, not to get your husband, which would have been a totally reasonable response, immediately afterwards and say, let's get out of here. We're getting out of here. I'm just talking to you about objective data. Do you understand? The objective data is I have a report here that indicates that you started to take medication, and you've been taking medication for stress for a very long time, and in your own hand or in the hand of another professional, it does say that you did in fact attempt suicide, something that you didn't tell me. I have the defendant who probably, based upon his own statements and based upon the statements of his witness, wasn't too bright, because if he takes women on his ski-doo, what he does is he either holds on to the back of the jacket, puts his hand around his waist, and not be stupid, and grab them onto their waist where you might put your hands in and around their thigh area. That isn't smart. Do you understand? Not smart. That does not necessarily make you a sexual deviant. Okay. He says he did not do this. Your mother says she observed certain bruising on your thighs. The medical records indicate that the doctor who you saw during the month of August noted redness.
But not scratches.
There is no medical evidence of scratches, madam. If you went to the doctor immediately after this incident, which you did not do, and the doctor had looked at you and saw nail scratches, nail marks, something.
Ma'am, when I went to the doctor, he's known me so long, being so strong with my mom, that he didn't even look, he didn't even check. He just walked out of the room.
That may be. But this is the objective data that I do not have, which is probably why the police department there chose not to prosecute him.
Ma'am.
There was a prosecutor that wanted to.
The state.
He kept having it postponed, and they put somebody else in there who dropped the case.
It's been postponed and withdrawn for 7 months.
What I'm telling you is, when you have this kind of an assault, especially if you have this kind of an assault, and there was some indication that there was another child, a 13-year-old, who was not a witness here today, so I don't know that, was also inappropriately touched, then the prosecutors proceed. You may be 100% truthful. I, as a judge, have to deal with objective data. And based upon what I have seen, I cannot in good conscience label this man a sexual deviant. I cannot. Only you folks and your consciences know what happened that day. That's all.
Case number 184 on the calendar in the matter of Roy versus Zamias. Party, you're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Roy, according to your complaint, you rented a room in defendant's home.
Yes.
When did you rent the room?
From January until May.
And what was your monthly rent?
$500.
According to your complaint, there came a time sometime in, was it May that you had an argument?
Early June.
So you stayed there till June?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was to
You
stay.
stayed there till June?
Mm-hmm.
You had an argument over Tupperware.
Yes.
As a result of that argument, you say you were assaulted, given an eviction notice, forced to move. You want the defendant to pay you for the assault, pro rata for the rent, because you'd already paid June's rent, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Your moving expenses, told you wanted to pay $1,543. So let's take it from. When in June did you have this argument?
June 6th.
Tell me about the argument.
Well, the morning of June 6th, I woke up, and I had been looking for my Tupperware throughout that week. And
What Tupperware?
This Tupperware right here.
Those two pieces?
Yes. So throughout the week and in the morning before work and everything, that's when I had time to ask her. So on June 6th, I knocked on her door, and she said, you know, come on in. And I said, hey, Nicole, you know, have you seen my Tupperware? And she said, no, you know, and went on into, you know, Karina, I need to stop condensing your food down into smaller containers in the refrigerator. And this was the third time that I had asked her for my Tupperware, and she was changing the subject when 2 other times I wasn't getting direct answers, and where she was directing me, they weren't there. Like the first time I asked her.
I'm not interested.
Okay.
Just get to the point.
So I said, look, if I don't get my Tupperware back, I'll just take it off my rent. And she said, well, don't you dare! And she threw her blankets off her, with which every morning.
Just a second, are you telling me you went into her bedroom?
Yes.
To ask? Let me finish my question. You went into her bedroom to ask for those 2 pieces of Tupperware?
Yes, for the
And she was in bed?
Yes.
Go ahead. So she threw her blankets off.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
But, you know, every other morning.
Just answer the question.
Okay.
Tell me, she threw her blankets off and said what?
Don't you dare, you know, and she threw her blankets off, and she ran to the door and slammed it open. She said, I ate it! And she stormed into the kitchen. And I followed her, and she opened her Tupperware cupboard and forced all of her Tupperware on me like that.
Let me explain something to you. Don't get dramatic with me. Okay, go ahead. So she...
And threw all of her Tupperware on me.
She didn't throw all of her Tupperware on
Yes,
you.
she did. Yes,
How did she
did.
Miss Roy, you're standing there, so what you're telling me, she took out each piece of Tupperware from the cupboard and threw it at you?
No, she has a Tupperware cupboard, and she put her arm on one end of that Tupperware cupboard, and with all of her force, threw it on me, and I was standing behind her, and it landed on me.
Is that the assault you're talking about?
No, and there was one other.
No. Is that the assault that you're talking about?
That's one of them, yes.
And when was the other one?
Then she kept standing there and screaming, you know, how dare you, and don't you dare, don't you even dare, Karina, shame on you, shame on you.
Listen to me.
Like this.
I hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, this is what she was yelling at me.
Go ahead.
And I said, you know, Nicole, you said you were going to take care of my Tupperware, and and on Sunday your maid came, and I haven't seen him since. And she said, there's your answer, Karina. Look in that cupboard there. Look in that one. And I go over there, and I open it up, and it's kind of on the ground, so I kneel down, and there's my Tupperware, and I grab it. And when I'm down, she's leaning her whole body into me, pointing her finger in my face. How dare you? Don't you even dare. Shame on you. That's it. I want you out of here. And she hit my head with her finger. She had all of her weight on me.
Next. So what happened next?
So then I got up, and I'm just like backing away. I'm like backing away. I'm walking out of the kitchen, you know, and she threw her hand up. Damn you, how can you do this? And that's it, Karina. I want you out of here in 30 days. And I'm standing there, and we're standing in front of Anna now, okay? And I said, good. And Anna stood up and said, hey, and looking directly at me, and said, hey, the babies, as she's looking at me. And I had not said anything through this whole entire time.
What did she say?
The babies. The babies.
Hey! Quiet. What happened next?
Well,
you went to work.
As Anna was saying.
You went to work?
Yeah, I went to work.
And what happened when you came home from work?
There was a letter in my room.
And what did the letter say?
It said, because of your histrionics and verbal assault this morning, Anna and I agreed that for the sake of the daycare children, you are to leave the premises as soon as possible. I am hereby giving you a 14-day notice.
Okay. You don't deny writing that note? No. Good. Okay. Where did you come to a 14-day notice?
In my contract, Your Honor, I have a
it's a month-to-month lease.
Yeah, so there's usually a 30-day notice.
Right, and because of the daycare, should there be any behavioral or safety issue, I exercise the right to use the 14-day. And also the tenant.
Is there a notice in your agreement giving you the right for a 14-day notice?
Yes.
Let me see it.
Yes, it's right here. And
can I see it, please?
Yes.
Good.
There's also a 48-hour, but that's for something more serious like underage drinking.
Let me just see.
In my home.
Okay. With at least 14 days' notice given and acknowledged in writing by both parties. Okay, so you gave her a 14-day notice.
My assistant and I decided. Okay.
So that's on the 6th?
Mm-hmm.
When did you move out?
Moved out on the 9th.
30 days, half September, April, June, and November. So what we're talking about is 21 days. Is that right?
No, so I had paid June's rent on May 21st to stay till June 21st.
Oh, okay. So that means that you're only entitled to 12 days.
Yes.
You have a problem with giving her prorated rent?
I do, Your Honor, because I gave her the 14-day notice.
She moved out before.
And she had announced to me that she would be moving out the following Saturday, which was in a couple of days. And my exact words were, Karina, you're free to move whenever you want, but the room is yours until the 21st.
That's just because you say so.
And
listen to me. Just because you say so doesn't mean that that's so. You gave her a 14-day notice.
Right.
Because you say there was some egregious reason why you gave her short notice. If
Yeah.
she decides not to stay there until that time, that's her prerogative. You have to give her prorated rent back.
But, Your Honor, the problem is, although she physically moved out, her property was still in the room.
All of her?
Absolutely. No, not all of her property.
What?
The day after she moved, she said she needed to bring her answering machine in because her phone...
What was in her
Well,
room?
there was a lamp, a pole lamp, and then her ashtray, and she said Saturday night when she moved out, I'm really tired, my ashtray is in there, I didn't even wash it, I'll get back to it later. And I did not even go into the room to clean or anything. When I did go after the 20th, when she got her security deposit back, then I went in there, and these two items were in the closet still.
Is that the other items?
The lamp, she had said when she was moving, she said, you can either give this away or throw it away.
And you should have done that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karina Roy says former landlord Nicole Zimius assaulted her with Tupperware.
Okay, what items do you think suggest that she still occupied the room? The teddy bear in the cup?
Well,
listen to me, speak.
The lamp.
The lamp she told you to get rid of.
The ashtray, and these two things, with the kind of ups and downs that we've had in her stay, I was not about to even go into the room, and I didn't.
That's fine. That's your prerogative. You did, you didn't. I don't care whether you did or whether you didn't. Clearly, you gave her a notice because you didn't want her around. You felt as if you wanted to give her 2 weeks to get out. That's fine. I find that she elected to move out before. I believe she's entitled to do that. She doesn't want to be there if you don't want her there. She moved out. She gets her portion of the rent back that she paid, because I don't consider that, a cup and her teddy bear, leaving property in the house so that you couldn't rent the room again if you wanted to. All right. Now next, you want her to pay your moving expenses. Is that right?
Yes.
Wrong. So we've just dealt with that. You don't get your moving expenses. Now, damages due to the assault. I'm prepared to hear you if you want to tell me what your damages were as a result of the assault.
Because of this, I mean, the way I physically felt, okay, was just like somebody just ripped I just felt hollow in here. I mean, I did not feel stable at all. My driving
You're not
has
stable. Anybody that walks into a bedroom, somebody sleeping in their bed, to ask for 2 pieces of Tupperware and start an argument with them while they're in bed over 2 pieces of Tupperware isn't too stable.
Okay.
To start with.
Well, because
$500 divided by 30 equals $16.66. Clear that?
Yeah, just multiply.
What?
Just multiply.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Wait a second. I'm learning how to use this machine.
Okay, I'm trying to tell you.
Just a minute. Times 12 equals $199.92. That you are entitled to. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $199.92. Thank you. You want to give her back a bear?
Certainly.
Perfect. Bird, would you take care of the bear in the cup?
Sure. Parties are excused. You may step out.
She fought with all the tenants. She fought with me. She fought with my 2 sons who don't even live there anymore.
Absolutely not. I'm such a meek, shy person. I bowed down to them and I stayed out of their way.
And now the next case.
All parties on Habib versus Fields. Step forward, please.
27-year-old tutor Nafisa Habib is suing her ex-boyfriend's friend, 28-year-old bakery worker Anise Fields, for smashing her windshield with a baseball bat.
Miss Habib, both you and the defendant have a child.
Yes.
And that child was fathered by the same person.
Yes.
So that's how you know each other.
Yes, ma'am.
And I would assume that you don't like each other.
I have no problem with that.
Well, then you think she doesn't like you.
I guess, yes.
Because it's your claim that she smashed the windshield of your car.
Yes, ma'am.
When did this take place?
January 12, 2001.
Where?
His uncle's house, where he was staying there at the time.
This is the father?
Yes.
Of both children?
Yes, ma'am.
You have any other children?
Yes, I do.
How many?
4.
4 other ones?
4 children altogether.
Altogether. How old is your child?
My child is 3.
And yours?
He's 3. My child's 1 month older than her son.
Tell me how it happened that you happened to be in the same location.
January 12th, he called me and asked me to bring over my daughter. He doesn't see her a lot, so I brought her over.
To where he was staying?
Yes. While we were there, I was downstairs in like the lounge area in the basement, and he was upstairs. And I heard some banging on the door. I thought he had locked himself outside the house. So I called upstairs, Rude Boy, did you lock yourself outside?
What's his name?
Rude Boy. By that time, he came downstairs. He said, Anise is outside.
Anise?
Yes.
That's you?
Me. Yeah. I said, are you going to let her in? He said, no, she's upset. She's going to want to fight. I said, fight who? That's when she busted the basement window. She had a bat in her hand, and I saw her. Rude Boy ran upstairs. I stayed downstairs. They were outside. I heard her yelling, what do you think, I'm stupid? Is she in there? Is she in there? I heard him yelling. He said, I'm going to call the police. He came in the house. Apparently, she left. He came downstairs. He didn't call the police. We started cleaning up the glass. At that time, I said, Rude Boy, let me drop you off at work. When I went to my car, opened my door, I saw the glass on my seat and saw she bust my windshield. I switched cars with my father, and I went to her house. She invited me in. We talked for a while. The end result of the conversation was that Anise said she was going to pay for my windshield when she got her school money because she didn't have any money at the time. The very next day, after Anise busted my windshield, she called me, and she apologized continuously. Nafisa, I'm sorry. This is not me. I don't go around busting girls' windshields. I felt sorry for Anise because I know how it is for a brother to allow you to believe that it's all about you, and it's not all about you. So I felt sorry for her. I said, no problem, Anise, when you get the money.
So, bottom line is, you saw her with a bat break the basement window.
Yes.
But not your car window.
No.
But she did, in fact, tell you that she would pay for it. Okay, let me hear you.
She's lying. Basically.
Why don't you just tell me what happened? You went over
I wasn't there. No, I was not there. No.
Just a second. Are you telling me that you never went to the house?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you.
I think you have to come up with a better story than that. I'm going to tell you why. Because I believe her when she says that you came to the house.
Mm-hmm.
I believe her when she says that she saw you with a bat in your hand and that there was glass downstairs at the basement window. So I think we're going to start over again.
She's lying. He lives there. So he was there. So he can tell you. I was not there.
All right.
She's lying. I don't know. My basement window never got broke. I don't know how you could see somebody break the basement window from the basement. I don't know what she's talking about. Prior to this, she said I broke her window, busted her car up. She told my grandmother I did it. She let a friend of mine use her car. He crashed her car up. She said I did it. I don't know nothing about what this is about.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, Miss Judy, Judge Judy. I'm trying to be calm because I want to cry because I cannot believe that Jamar would sit up here and lie. He was supposed to watch Hanifa, but he said that he couldn't watch her. I didn't even know he was going to be here. Rude Boy, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Shh. Don't talk to him.
I'm sorry.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Judge Judy, he also told me, Rude Boy himself told me that Anise had intentions several times to pay you for your car windshield, but things that came up. When I went to her house, I met her mother, I met her daughter, Asia. You brought your daughter I to met my house. her son.
No. Okay, just a minute. Wait.
Oh, God. I can't believe you, Rude Boy.
I can't believe you.
Oh, it's over.
Never was anything.
Whatever, Rude Boy. Whatever.
If you talk amongst yourselves, you're leaving.
Excuse me.
Tell me why you reported this to the police 2 days later.
Well, I believed in when she said she was going to pay me for the windshield, and when she called me the very next day after it happened, I believed her. I believed it. My father said, Nafisa, cover your tracks. If you get a police report, then at least you have that in case you have to take her to court. I did not believe it was going to have to go this far. It's only $183. I'm not asking her for cab money or the inconvenience she put me. My sister had to come and get me several times to pick up my children. I work 2 jobs. I raised 4 children by myself. I don't have time for this. This is so juvenile.
Mr. Jones, do you currently have a relationship with any of the 3 or 4 women?
This one here.
This
No,
one.
he doesn't.
Shh.
I'm sorry.
No.
I apologize.
No.
I'm sorry.
So you currently have a relationship with a niece?
Yes.
How long have you had that relationship with a niece?
Since last year, we started dating each other and being in a relationship last summer.
How many children do you 2 have together?
1.
Your other 2 children, do they have the same mother?
No.
What do you do for a living?
My teacher aide, bus aide.
Nothing.
Shh.
I'm sorry. I apologize. He's lying. I'm sorry.
Well, how was she taking me to work if she came over?
Just listen to me.
She's making up stuff.
Listen to me.
I'm sorry. I understand. I apologize.
Teacher's aide, bus aides don't
Yes.
make a lot of money.
Small money.
Small money doesn't make 4 children.
No, I make 4 children, but my money take care of my children.
Impossible. Impossible. Okay. Do you work, Anise?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at a bakery.
How many children do you have?
5.
Do all 5 children live with you?
Yes.
You make a lot of money in the bakery?
No, I don't. I also go to school.
How is your family subsidized?
From me working and going to school.
How much money do you make at the bakery?
I make $5.50 an hour.
$5.50 an hour gross does not support 6 people, and he certainly doesn't make enough to support you and your children. What kind of work do you do?
I tutor children full-time, and I work at a floral shop part-time.
How many children do you have?
4.
What other support do you get for your children?
I receive food stamps, and that helps a great deal.
How old are your other children, Mr. Jones?
10, 2.
So you have a new child, not with either one of these 2 women.
Yes.
And shortly after that child was born, you renewed your relationship with a niece. Is that right?
Yes.
Excuse me, miss.
Shh. $183 is what the windshield cost you?
Yes, ma'am.
Pay it. $183. Judgment for the plaintiff.
This is case number 191 on the calendar in the matter of Burke versus Martins. Thank you. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Burke, according to your complaint, in July of this year,
Yes.
you moved in with the defendant, signing a 6-month lease with her.
Correct.
As a roommate.
Correct.
It was not a match made in heaven.
No.
It is your claim that 3 weeks later, she forcibly evicted you from the premises. You are suing her for the expenses that you incurred as a result of that move.
Correct.
Okay. The defendant is counterclaiming, claiming that you breached your lease with her, you had no basis to move, and she claims that you did certain damage to the premises. Is that right?
Correct.
How did you find this roommate situation, Ms. Burke?
I have a copy of her ad in Roommate Finders. It's a roommate service, and I went through that service.
Did you find it online? Is that what you did?
Yes.
Okay. So when did you move in?
On July 25th.
And did you pay August's rent?
Yes, I did.
Which was $800?
Yes, I have a copy of all of my canceled checks.
I don't think that she denies that.
No,
And you
I don't.
paid an additional $400?
Yes, I did.
Is that right?
Yes.
All right, so what caused you to move?
Well, when I moved in, and actually when I came to look at the place, Miss Martinson informed me that she was a massage therapist and that she worked from her home. I wanted to know what kind of massage she performed, and I asked her specifically, is it like sports injury massage? And she said, oh yeah, that's basically what I do. And I said, well, what hours do you perform massage out of the house? And she told me it was strictly during the day. And I was fine with that. She was what I thought was a struggling mother who just had a child, and anyway, I don't want to ramble. Anyway, 2 nights after I moved in, I was walking from my bedroom to the kitchen, and in the living room were 2 naked people. The naked man was lying on his back on the massage table, and the naked woman, not Mrs. Martins, was massaging the naked man in the portion of his body that should be covered by a towel.
Your Honor, this is not true.
Just a minute. Go ahead.
It is true.
I informed Miss Martins what I had seen, and she told me that she didn't know what was going on, and that she was very upset with her friend, and that she would take care of it, and that wouldn't happen again.
Someone else worked out of your house as well?
No, I had a girlfriend. She was there. She's here in the building. She would like to testify, just not on camera. She will testify that that is an incorrect statement.
Was she using your house at any time to give massages, whatever kind of massages they were?
She was spending the night, her and her boyfriend. What they were doing that night, I don't know.
She was, according to her, giving him a great massage.
A couple nights later, I walked out, and the same naked woman was there with a different naked man. This time she was crawling on top of the naked man.
In the living room?
Yes. And I informed Mrs. Martinson again. She promised again it wouldn't happen. I just wanted to believe that it wouldn't happen again. But it continued to happen. As a matter of fact, it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon this time, and her friend had come over with this third, different man, and they had gone into the back bedroom. And when I asked Rebecca about it, she stated that she didn't think that there was anything wrong with it, and that I told her that from what I had witnessed, it was basically prostitution in my definition, and that I'd worked far too hard for my goals. I'm also a full-time student, that I wasn't going to let what she was doing put me at risk because of these strange men coming in the house.
This was after about a week?
That was about 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Okay, so you had this confrontation with her after 2 weeks, and
Yes.
whether she was correct as to what she saw, accurate as to what she's
It's not
reporting.
accurate.
Just listen to me. You didn't let me finish.
Sorry.
Whether she is correct or she is incorrect about what she saw, you did have this discussion with her during this first and second week of her tenancy.
It was after the first week.
So whether it's right or it's wrong, this is what she reported to you and complained about. Is that right?
Half of it.
Fine.
Not
Even if it's
entirely.
half, I don't care which half, the bottom half or the top half, it doesn't make any difference. It's half.
Okay.
Okay, so what happened? So now you're in the second week.
Right.
Go ahead.
I had finals coming up in a week, so I knew that I had to concentrate on finals, so I basically needed to deal with this afterwards. Did my studying mostly from my office, sometimes picked up the dogs and took them to the dog park and studied there, anything to keep from going home because of what was going on at the house. I didn't want to go home. After I finished my finals on August 12th, I got home at about 3:30 in the afternoon, and I went back, and my dog was out there with a muzzle on his nose. It was about 100 degrees out in the valley on that day, and he was sick and lethargic. I threw him in the pool and brought him inside to bring his body temperature down, and called the emergency vet.
Because he couldn't pant.
He couldn't pant, he couldn't drink. And I called the emergency vets, and they told me just to monitor him. And he got better, so I didn't end up taking him to the vet. But they did tell me that if he had been there longer, he would have
Don't tell me
died.
what they told you. Muzzle was tight on his face. Couldn't pant, which means you can't get rid of the heat.
Right.
Couldn't drink. Okay. Did you discuss that with her?
Yes, I was actually very upset when it happened, but I realized by the time she got home about 4 hours later, I didn't want any kind of confrontation, so I just calmly said, please don't do this. You know, it put him at danger, and I don't want to, you know, he could have died.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tara Burke claims former roommate Rebecca Martins forced her to move. Tara says Rebecca is running an illegal massage business.
So what happened next?
I basically stayed in my room that night. The next day I went to work. It wasn't until 2 nights later. Miss Martinson was getting ready for bed, and I informed her that I didn't think the situation was going to work out and gave her my notice.
Okay.
The next night I got home at about 8 o'clock, and Miss Martins was in a rage. And she asked me if I'd found a place yet. And I told her, no, of course I hadn't. We had just spoken about it the night before. And at that point, she started screaming at me and, you know, saying that I used the house as a hotel and I've been gone all day. And I said, I have a job. Of course I've been gone all day. And she said, well, you're off at 3. You know, it's 8 o'clock. Where have you been all this time? And I was actually shocked that she would even be questioning me on that. She's just a roommate. So basically, she started getting more and more aggravated and informed me that if I left for work the next morning, she was going to throw my belongings out on the lawn and change the locks. At which point I told her that she couldn't do that, that wasn't legal. And she started, you know, saying, well, you can sue me, but that won't do you any good. And I said, well, you're out of control. And I reached for the phone to grab 911, and she came after me. No. So I ran out the side door of the house, and I ran to the neighbor's house and called 911 and waited at the neighbor's house for the police to show up. The police showed up, and they spoke to each one of us separately. They came out and told me that it was illegal for her to do that, and if she were to try to do that, that I should call them back and they would come back and arrest her, and that I should try to get out as quickly as possible, and I told them that I would.
So you moved out the next day?
Yes. And the entire time I was moving out, she was behind me screaming and threatening me. And
okay, so you moved out on the 16th?
Correct.
Okay. Now let's hear your version.
Okay, it's really not quite what she said.
Just tell me your version, I'll decide.
She comes to visit on my ad. I liked her, I let her move in. Everything was okay. She paid me the money. The dogs came after, about 3 days later, and they were a problem from the onset.
But she told you she had dogs before.
Right, but she also told me it was a 7-year-old Rottweiler, and it was a 2-year-old lab that was very well behaved. They were not. The 7-year-old was in heat, and the male was very aggressive. I have pictures of where he bit my dog. He bit my dog 3 times, and that is the reason the muzzle was put on. And she was the one that told me, if they get out of hand, put the muzzle on it, it's in the garage. So that is why I did that after my dog was bitten. And the reason why I had the fight with her at all was because she wasn't looking after her dogs. They had escaped from the yard twice. I have a witness here to testify that they ended up down the block twice. And so she brought me into it saying I had to go look for the dogs.
So let's go back to the 14th of August, a couple of days before she moved out.
Actually, we need to go back up to the first week. After the first week, she got upset because of having a friend over, and she said she saw what she saw. I never saw it, denied it.
That's incorrect.
So that day, she said, I can't handle this. I'm giving you my 2-week notice.
Okay.
So then, on the 14th,
Your Honor,
she reiterated to me that she was moving out at the same point that we fought over the dogs. I said, your dog's in heat. The male dog is beating up my dog. You need to separate them. And then she did. She put them a few days earlier in the dog run, but then there's no shade there. So I had to keep giving them buckets of water. I had to keep hosing them down. Meanwhile, I have a sick baby in the house.
Okay.
And so it was
so
an
now we're at the
inconvenience to
14th
me.
and 15th. Go ahead.
Right. And so I told her, I said, you're not looking after your animals. I'm not looking after them tomorrow. I said, I am not looking after your pets one more day. This is not a daycare for animals. It's not included with the rent.
Okay.
So she got all mad at me. She grabbed my phone. She ran to her room. Of course, I followed her because she had my phone in her hand. I didn't agree to let her use my phone. And so she goes, I'm calling 911. I'm like, for what? And so she exited out the side door of her room, and she went outside because I unplugged the phone in the living room so she couldn't use the phone.
Why did she do that?
Because she grabbed my phone. She didn't have permission to use it.
Well, you knew she was calling the police.
She said she was. I didn't know what she was
Well,
going to do.
who did she think she was going to call?
I don't know. I wasn't really sure, but I didn't want her using my phone.
Go ahead.
So I unplugged it, and so she couldn't use it. So then I guess she went to the neighbors.
Right.
The police
She called
came.
the police.
Right.
Police told you couldn't evict her.
And I said, well, she gave her 2-week notice, and it's up tomorrow.
But she's already paid up till the end of the month.
She gave her 2-week notice.
She paid up till the end of the month.
Okay, well, if I had someone else that wanted to move in because she had given her notice.
Okay, so she moved out the next day.
She moved her dogs at 9 in the morning, and I thought, great, the dogs are gone. Then she came back a couple hours, and after her and her friend had berated me, and that's why the police were called again that day, and they came to keep the peace. So the police were there the day she moved out with her truck, and upon leaving, she decided to vandalize my car. I have pictures here. She scratched a 3-foot scratch across my brand new car.
Who saw her do that?
The neighbor across the street.
Where's the neighbor?
They didn't want to be on camera.
Everybody doesn't want to be on camera. You must have people who are wanted for something. Let me explain something to you. I take testimony.
Right.
I'll hear a witness.
Yes, there is a witness here.
Who?
Carrie is a neighbor down the block that testified to her dogs being out.
I'm not interested in the dogs being out. I'm interested in vandalizing your car.
Oh, this is the picture.
I'm not interested in the picture. I'm interested in somebody who saw her vandalize your car.
Well, I didn't see her actually do it.
Fine.
But
Let's
she
move
was
on.
standing next to the car.
Let's move on. I'm going to deal with your counterclaim first.
Right.
Damage to the car I've dealt with. I don't have anybody who saw her do it. What about a fence?
Yes. The fence was destroyed by her dogs.
Let me see. Did your dogs do this?
I have no idea. This is the first I've heard of it. She has a dog as well, so I don't know whether mine
How did they do this to the fence?
The Rottweiler dug under the fence, and the lab started chewing on the fence and ripped it off. I made a police report the day that the police came to keep the peace, and they saw it, and they made a note of it in the
Your
report.
Honor, I'm the one who called the police.
Just a second.
No, you didn't.
Just a second. You have a police report?
I
this
called
fence?
the police
Do you
that
have a police
day.
report about the fence?
They didn't say it in there, but they want to know about the car incident as well.
I don't know about the car. I'm talking about the fence.
It doesn't say anything about the fence, but it
Fine.
shows an investigation.
Fine. I want to know about the fence.
Right.
You said
this is the whole incident.
Is there anything in there about the fence? The answer
It
is
doesn't
yes
say the
or
word
no.
fence.
Now, reimbursements of cleaning costs. What are the cleaning costs?
Yes, $70 per hour, 2-hour minimum.
For what?
For cleaning up the state of the room that she left it. I have pictures of the way she left the room.
Can I see it, please?
You have to look closely on the floor. There's about an inch thick of dog hair.
This is the room the way she left it?
On the floor, yeah.
It's pretty clean to me. Next.
There's dog hair on. No, look on the floor.
I'm looking at the floor.
Okay, and the
Looks pretty clean to you?
Looks clean to me.
Next. What else?
Okay.
Defamation of character and miscellaneous expenses.
Right, the biting of my dog.
I get it.
Was a show dog.
Okay, good.
Okay. The dog.
Miss Martins, I'm not going to torture you anymore. Let me give it to you as I see it, madam.
Okay.
The plaintiff wanted a roommate.
Yes.
She wanted to live with someone. She answered your ad.
Yes.
In good faith, she came. You asked her for $400 security.
Yes.
She gave you $400 security.
Yes.
She agreed to move in. She moved in on or about the 25th of July. She paid you the entire amount of rent.
Yes.
So that she was all paid up through the end of August. She was so uncomfortable with the situation there that she saw, so uncomfortable that according to you, she was so upset that your friend was doing business out of your house that after 1 week, she said, I can't stay here anymore. You know, this is not good for me. You know, I'm not going to jeopardize my life by staying here. We'll have a police raid here, and I'm going to get caught in the middle of this thing. So, according to you, after 1 week, she said, I'm moving.
Right.
Now, she's all paid up till the end of August. You can't throw her out.
I didn't throw her. I just wanted her dogs to behave.
But how did you expect to do that?
She bought a barking collars for them, but she didn't put the batteries in. She refused to put batteries in.
So my question to you is, you were both unhappy with this arrangement.
Yes.
Clearly, she was unhappy with the kind of business being conducted out of your home, and you were unhappy with her barking dogs. So clearly this was a situation that should just go away by her moving out. Right?
Yes.
Perfect. What monies do you think you are owed? Listen to me carefully, because her counterclaim is gone. I'm dismissing it. She has no counterclaim.
Right. But what about her scratching my car? I mean, that's a $400 damage.
I don't believe she did it.
I didn't.
Since I don't believe very much else of what you tell me, Miss Martins, I don't believe that she scratched your car.
She scratched my car.
Okay, good. Where did you go after you left her house?
A good friend of mine, when he actually heard what was happening in the house, had been telling me, get out, I have a three-bedroom house, you can stay with me. I felt my duty as a tenant was to give notice, so I didn't, okay.
Just answer my question.
My friend's house.
Are you still there?
No, I found a place.
You found a place in a roommate situation?
Very nice roommate, though.
Okay.
And she has a normal job.
Your Honor, was not working out of my house. She was there with a boyfriend. I mean, you're claiming that she was working out of my house. She's not at work. She's a flight attendant.
Let me tell you this. Whatever she was doing in your house when you weren't there, according to you, listen to me. You're not getting it. Are you thick? I tried to explain it. I will do it one more time. She came, she gave you money. According to you, she gave you notice within 1 week that because of the things that she was observing in your house and she was so distressed, she was giving you notice. That's according to you.
Well, she could see through walls?
Just a second. What I'm telling you is, based upon what you told me, after 1 week of living in your house.
She was complaining, yes. No, is very attractive and very thin, and she was calling her a crack because of her thinness and her wanting to swim in my pool naked.
Miss Martins, there is no question in my mind that the
plaintiff... She was jealous of her.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 144 on the calendar in the matter of Boone versus Rose. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Get ready for a lecture. Mr. Boone, you and the defendant evidently had a relationship, and you have a baby together. Your lawsuit, Mr. Boone, which I will dispose of very quickly, says that while you were together, she drove your car, you drove her truck, you put a stereo system in her car because you were doing a lot of the driving in her car. Then you broke up and you want your stereo system back.
Basically.
Uh-huh.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't you have bigger things to deal with?
Yes, we do.
So why are you bothering with this dumb issue?
Because the money that I was going to get from the stereo system was going to go towards my son.
Why don't you get a job?
I've got a job.
Good. Use the money from your job. Do you understand? That's
Yes.
what you do. Use money from your job. What I find most interesting is your counterclaim, which I will dispose of equally as swiftly. Your counterclaim, which is a little interesting, says that you and the plaintiff agreed while you were pregnant that the baby was going to be placed for adoption. And then Mr. Boone changed his mind.
In the hospital when we were signing the paperwork, yes, ma'am.
And because he changed his mind, it cost you about $1,000 for a lawyer.
Yes, ma'am.
And you want him to pay the $1,000 because he changed his mind.
I want him to pay the $1,000 because he lied to the judge and he lied to a lawyer. He said that I had given up my rights, which as soon as I found out he did not sign the paperwork, I signed the reversal papers, the dismissal papers, ma'am, and he went and got a court order against me to take the baby home with him. And that's not a place for a baby. And so it was either the baby goes home with him or I go and get a lawyer and have the baby come home with me.
Miss Rose.
Yes, ma'am.
First, take a tissue.
Thank you.
So let me understand. You're in the hospital. You had signed a release for the baby.
Yes, ma'am.
He changed his mind.
Yes, ma'am.
And then he went to court and said, she's given up her rights to the baby, so I want to take my son home with me.
Yes, ma'am.
Had you ever discussed placing the baby for adoption, Mr. Boone?
We had. We went to a few meetings with the lady of the Lifeline. The first meeting we went to, I told her I did not want to do it. I did not want to give the baby up for adoption. And
did you change your mind?
Well,
you're allowed to tell me that I did change my mind.
Well, I did, but I mean, I never wanted to give him up for adoption to begin with.
I understand that, but I want you to be very honest with me. You
Yes.
had, in fact, discussed it with her.
Yeah, we had discussed it. We were
And-
making an option.
And you did see your son and then change your mind.
I watched him be born. That was, probably one of the happiest days of my life.
So far?
So far.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
It's a very short life so far.
Yes.
Miss Rose.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to try to explain it to you in a way you'll understand it.
Yes.
Let us say the situation was reversed, and the two of you had decided, especially Mr. Boone, that he wasn't ready for parenthood, he couldn't deal with it financially, he couldn't deal with it emotionally, and he wanted to place the baby for adoption, and you said okay. And then you went through the experience of having your baby, you looked at him, you fell in love, and you changed your mind.
Ma'am, I was
Just
already...
a second.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm reversing the situation. Do you think really that Mr. Boone could sue you for changing your mind and therefore being financially responsible for this baby for the next 21 years?
Ma'am, he has not helped me.
No. You're not paying attention. I don't know if you're not getting it. Do you think that it would be right or fair or legally appropriate for you to be sued by him, because the law would require that he support this baby until the baby is 21 years old? And you would come to me and say to me, Judge, I fell in love with this baby. I changed my mind. I couldn't give him up. You think he could sue you?
He's suing me for speakers.
Well,
I don't see
he's
that.
not. He may sue you for speakers, but that's not going to happen here. You have no claim against him. He changed his mind. He's allowed to change his mind, just as the law would give you an opportunity to change your mind soon. Within 24 hours, some places 48 hours. That's a very important time. So your parents are now responsible for taking care of your baby.
I am.
But you live at home.
Yes, ma'am, but I pay for everything. I've gotten no help from him. My parents have been helping me out as much as they can.
So I say to you, your parents are responsible for the baby. He says that it's been made very difficult for him to see his son. Why is that?
Because my lawyers have said that unless he helps out, he got arrested a week after the baby was born.
For what?
Theft of property. He got fired from his job. He stole. Even his little friend over there knows about it. He got arrested and fired from his job for stealing. He stole digital cameras, CD players. He stole cameras. He stole lots of stuff. I thought my birthday present was, I don't know how he would have gotten $500 to get my birthday present, but I have that.
So?
And then I have,
had he been arrested before?
I don't know. Not to my knowledge.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Comes under the category of you picked him.
Yes, ma'am. I know.
And he's got an interest in seeing this child. Now, your lawyers may say to you, unless he contributes to the baby's support, he's not going to see him. But that's being very short-sighted. Listen, it's being very short-sighted because let's say a year from now or 2 years from now, he's working, he's got a good job, and he says, now I want to see the baby and I can contribute my $25 a week, whatever it is. And the judge said, yes, you're entitled to, you're the father. Well, then it's been 2 years or a year, and you're introducing a new person into your baby's life rather than have the baby see him regularly. You can't be selfish about that, and you can't be childish. 2 18-year-olds make a baby, but then you have to be a grown-up if you decided to keep him.
Ma'am, I've tried to be as grown-up as possible about this. I've tried to do everything that I possibly can. He's threatens me. He's threatened me since the day the baby was, since I took the baby home. He's threatened me since I took the baby home to take me to court. He said that he's going to get full custody of the baby. He would call my house.
That's not a threat. Just a minute.
Yes,
Miss Rose, that's not a threat. Now, I know you consider that a threat,
yes,
but it isn't a threat.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bobby Boone says the mother of his child, Teresa Rose, owes for the cost of car speakers. Teresa says Bobby owes her for interfering with the adoption of their baby.
The law in this country is that in regards to custody disputes between a mother and a father, nobody gets preference. The fact that he may have to prove that he has the ability, the capability, and that he'd be a better parent than you, that's a whole different ball of wax. But he has the legal right to do that. That's not a threat. But I think your lawyer is being very short-sighted if your lawyer says, don't let him see the baby. Very short-sighted. Now what do you want to say?
After the baby was born, I was giving her money on a regular basis, and then she heard a bunch of stuff about me that wasn't true, and then tells me I can't see my son. I call her house. Her stepdad tells me I was not allowed to call there anymore. I wasn't allowed to come to her house. I was never going to see my son again. That's his words. He took me off before the baby was born to one of his friend's house, and they were telling me, the best thing I can do is give him up, and he'll pick up the pieces. He even mentioned it more than once that if he wanted me in the bottom of Smith Lake, that's where I would be. And up to the point where they told me I wasn't allowed to call or go over there anymore. I was giving her money on a regular basis.
Just 1 second. Have you gone to court with regard to custody and visitation?
Not yet.
Well, why don't you, sir?
Well, that's what I'm working on.
What do you mean working on it? You don't have to work on it. You have the right to go into your local family court or juvenile court, file a petition asking to legally be declared the father of this child, and asking for either custody, if you feel as if you're the better parent, or visitation, regular court-ordered visitation, and they will also fix a support schedule for you. The problem, Mr. Boone, is, and I don't want you to feel so angry at her parents, because her parents know that an 18-year-old who is now saddled with an infant, that changes her life forever, as it may change your life forever. Her parents clearly understand that if she were prepared to do that, that would probably be in her best interest to do it, if she were prepared to do that, if she felt as if it were in her best interest. So you are really affecting her, her family, her parents, the baby, and you have a job doing what?
Well, right now I'm working delivering pizza.
You're a pizza delivery person.
And
just pay attention. You're a pizza delivery person. Do you know how much the reports indicate it costs to raise a child in this country from age 0 to 21?
No, ma'am.
$260,000 if you want to educate your child, medically take care of your child, clothe your child, sporting equipment, sneakers, orthodontist, etc., etc., etc.
The job I have, it has excellent benefits, and he would be on my insurance, and I would take full responsibility for him, and that's what I...
Not on $12 an hour you won't, Mr. Boone. In the meantime, you have a responsibility as a father, and that is to go to court and file a petition seeking to legally be declared the father of this child in a court. Say, right now I'm delivering pizzas, I'll give you a piece of what I earn. I want to support him, but I also want to see him. Go ahead.
Ma'am, I have done as much as I can to let him see the baby, even though my parents tell me not to.
Shh.
Even though my parents tell me not to talk to him and stuff, I will still call him. He never even asks about the baby. I'll sit there, I'll talk to him, he'll ask me how I am, he'll ask...
Mr. Boone, don't interrupt her.
He will never even ask how the baby is. He has not helped me, yes, the first month or so before he started saying, oh, I want my speakers back, because I made it perfectly clear to him that we were not going to get back together because he hurt me so badly. I'm sorry, that just is a very emotional thing. I was in the hospital, just had my baby, and I found out it was going to go home with him. His home is not a safe, I don't feel it is a...
That's not emotionally hurting you. Listen to me. You said, I am giving this baby up. He said, I don't want to. I am going to fight to keep the baby so that I will have him in my life. That's not a trick.
I went to...
Shh. He had a choice. Just as I said to you, Miss Rose, you could have the same change of heart. You could have had the same change of heart. Fact is, you didn't. And it's going to be very difficult for you. But it's a big mistake not to let him see this baby in a comfortable circumstance so that he and the child develop a relationship now without acrimony, without fighting. Anyway, your lawsuit's dismissed, and Miss Rose, so is yours. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Oh my God, he lives in a nasty little trailer. They have roaches, they have 5 people living in a little single wide trailer.
She's let me see him 3 times in over a month.
He got fired for stealing a week after the baby was born.
I've made some mistakes, but I've paid for my mistakes.
He only wanted to keep me, and that's just that.
And now the next case.
All parties on Choka versus Chavez. Step forward, please.
26-year-old hairstylist Diane Choka is suing her sister's ex-fiancé, 26-year-old dock worker Shane Chavez, for the deposit on a wedding reception.
Miss Choka, the defendant is your sister's former fiancé.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, you loaned him $500 to put down as a deposit on a hall for the wedding.
Correct.
Wedding was called off. You want your $500 back.
Correct.
So let me hear about the circumstances of this loan.
My sister and him were planning on buying a house, so she was trying to put down all the money toward the house and that, and he agreed to pay for the hall, but at the time he didn't have the money for the down payment on the hall. So
just a minute.
So I went ahead and put the money on the down payment on the hall.
Just a second. Let's go back. He didn't have the money.
Correct.
Did the two of you have a discussion?
Yes.
Tell me where and when you had the discussion.
It was basically over the phone constantly, and
Not constantly. When did you have the discussion that I will put down the $500 for the hall for you?
When they planned on getting married, I don't know the exact date that they set the date, when they were
Well, I
going to be
want to
married.
hear about where you were when you had this discussion.
I was at home.
And you spoke to him on the phone?
Correct. And I've also talked to him in person.
Well, I want to hear the first conversation you had about the $500. Do you remember it?
I was on the phone with him, and my sister was also at his house or his apartment because they were living together.
Right.
And I said I would go ahead and put the money down on the hall, in the understanding that he would pay back.
Not
the $500.
understanding. I want you to tell me what words were exchanged.
I asked if he would pay back the money, and he said yes when he got his tax returns in.
Go ahead. Let me hear.
I did offer to pay back the $500. I never asked for the money to be loaned to me.
Okay, just a second.
Go ahead.
You had the conversation with her on the phone.
Correct.
Tell me about your version of the conversation.
The conversation just went as pretty much as she said. She had asked me if I was going to pay her back the money, and I agreed to pay back the money, just over verbal conversation over the phone. It was mainly because I wasn't wanting to pay it back. It's just out of kindness to her. That was pretty much all of it, and to get her off the phone and leave me alone. That was pretty much the whole bit, because she was calling every 3 days asking me about this.
Asking you about what?
ask me about the money.
What about the money?
After everything was said and done with the wedding being called off and all that.
No. I'm talking about at the time, Mr. Chavez. The time she said she would put the money down on the hall. Did you say to her, I'll pay you back?
No, at that time I did not say anything like
Well,
that.
I want you to tell me about the conversation.
There was none. I'm guessing that her and Lori had went to the hall and just rented it.
When did you tell her that you would pay her back the $500?
After everything was said and done, the relationship was over.
After it was over?
Yes.
And tell me about those conversations.
She'd called the house about 3 times in 1 week, asking me about it. My sister would answer the phone at times, and she wasn't able to, give verification of where I was or anything like that. And I had finally got to talk to her, and I told her just out of point blank, yeah, I'll pay you back the money.
Fine, good. So that's what you agreed to do, right?
Over the phone, yes. It was
Over
pretty
the
much.
phone, in person.
Well, it's...
And you didn't pay you back the money?
No.
Initially, even if I find that there was no contract, sir.
Well, it's not only that aspect of it. You got the aspect that Lori over here, Lori is marrying everybody, okay? Lori is marrying Jimmy and Billy Bob and whoever else is around her, okay?
Yeah.
The money originally did not come from Diane. The money originally did not come from Lori. The original money to put down the hall was from a prior wedding that Lori was supposed to be in.
No. Hand down. Yeah.
That Lori was supposed to be in. The gentleman that she was supposed to marry originally put $500 down for a wedding hall. That wedding got canceled all of a sudden, more problems. That money then got rolled over to Diane, and Diane agreed to pay Lori back the $500.
No. We lost out the money from her first wedding. Here is my canceled check that the bank makes a copy of to the hall that they were supposed to get married at. Came out of my pocket, not my sister's, no one else's.
Okay. I don't necessarily believe that you had a conversation with him where he asked you for a loan of $500 to put down on the hall. I think that you and your sister and your mother went down, reserved the hall, he broke it off, and then you started to ask him about this money. But once he agreed to pay you back, he agreed to pay you back.
More of an annoyance than it was just to actually pay her the money.
So, is she,
You get creditors calling your house constantly, you got some kind of legal binding there, I just got to get her off my back. That's pretty much it.
Good, so why didn't you
said
pay her?
no.
Just a minute, so you told her you'd pay her. Why didn't you pay her to get her off your
I
back?
had no intentions to begin with. It wasn't my money. I never asked for the money. It was just
It was
put
for
up.
your wedding.
It was just there.
It was for your wedding.
It was for her wedding. I was just a participant that happened to be there.
Judgment
just
for the
there.
plaintiff in the amount of $500. Thank you.
Parties. This is case number 227 on the calendar in the matter of Blackman versus Miller Vaughn. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Who is Mr. Miller?
I am.
Would you sit down, Mr. Vaughn, please? And is this your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you have a seat?
Thank you.
Mr. Blackman, this is an interesting case. I don't think I've ever tried one like this before. You knew the defendant.
I met him first time at our wedding, actually. He was a friend of a guest.
And according to your complaint, there came a time when you and the defendant arranged to have a young woman from the Philippines, who was, I believe, a cousin of your wife's,
Distant cousin, yes.
come to New York for the purposes of marrying him.
Yes, ma'am.
She came to the United States.
Yes, ma'am.
He didn't marry her.
No, ma'am, he did not.
And you want him to pay for all of the expenses that you incurred, which you say that he had agreed to pay. In addition, at some point, a check was given to you for $1,500, and then payment was stopped on that check, but that check was written by Mr. Vaughn at the defendant's request. So that's why he is a co-defendant. But he's really a nominal co-defendant. Okay, so when was your wedding, and when did you meet the defendant?
In February of '99, the defendant was at our wedding. A few days later, he came to a Valentine's dance party, and that's where I spoke to him about our site, FilipinoGirlsTours.com. I said,
No. Speak slowly, because we're missing. You had a website?
Yes, ma'am, a small business. I met my wife through Pen Pal Club, and when she came over, she goes, I have many friends that would like to come too, so we put up a free Pen Pal site where people could get free addresses and phone numbers, stuff like that, and correspond. I don't know if he first saw that site, or I really don't know, but he came to our wedding, and then at the party he was there. And I said, well, we do have a cousin of hers that's real cute on our site. would you like to meet her? And he says, well, I'd be interested. So I gave him the contact information, the address, the phone number. She did not have email at the time. And from there, it progressed. They got to know each other well.
They got to know each other via mail.
Mail and phone, yes.
And
many phone calls. Okay. And he went over there on his own.
He went to the Philippines?
Yes.
And visited. That is correct. When did you go to the Philippines, sir?
It was April or May. I don't remember exactly what the date was.
Of 1999?
Yes.
Okay. And you went and you met this young lady. Go ahead.
Yes, when he returned, he relayed to me how happy he was, how he would treat her so nicely, that he really loved her. And he was very frustrated that they were never left alone this whole time. And in the Philippines, most girls are very chaperoned. This particular woman had never dated really in her life. Very, very sheltered. And I helped him with his paperwork to bring her over because we had just started our site and I wanted to get more experience in the fiancé visa part and what have you. So I did all his paperwork for him.
What's a fiancé visa?
In order to bring a girlfriend, fiancé to the United States from another country, you must file paperwork with our government saying that you met her, prove that you met her, and that it's a legitimate relationship and you want to marry her. And you bring her over, you do all this paperwork.
Do you have a copy of that application?
I do not have a copy of his, per se.
I need a copy of his.
I do not. I have the form, but I have all the financial responsibility forms that he signed.
Can I see that?
Yes, ma'am. Saying that he would be responsible for her as long as she was here. Okay. I've highlighted the...
Okay, and you signed this financial affidavit, sir, on the 31st of August, 1999. Is that right?
I'd have to see it.
Sure.
Yes.
Good. So you signed the financial affidavit in August of 1999 agreeing to be financially responsible for this young lady when she came to this country.
Right. It said that I would be responsible so that she wouldn't be a burden upon our state.
That's correct, but that's only one of the affidavits that you signed. That's why I read the second one very carefully, which is, the first one says that you agree that she will never become a public charge while she's here. But the second affidavit that you signed, sir, says that a plaintiff may seek specific performance of my support obligation, and you acknowledge that any federal, state, local, or private agency that pays any means-tested public benefit or benefit on behalf of the sponsored immigrants has standing to sue you to meet my financial obligations. Okay, I got it. Now, when did the young lady come here?
She arrived on Friday, the 28th or 29th of January, I believe. The wife and I actually picked her up at the airport because the defendant said he could not get off work to pick her up. So we drove to Atlanta from Asheville, a considerable distance, picked her up, brought her that evening, left him at his apartment, where I even helped him move to. That night, they were alone. It was Super Bowl weekend. That Sunday, they came over. The girl was very, very upset with herself, what have you. Mr. Miller had talked her into giving up something very precious to her, which was her virginity, which is something these girls really hold proper to them, because he had spent so much money to bring her here and so much effort. She figured, well, he's going to marry me, it's okay. The way things worked out, she found out she did not know we had loaned him the money to bring her here because that wasn't...
Now tell me about that loan.
Mr. Miller was in the process of moving, and I had gotten to know him a little bit, doing his paperwork for him and what have you, and he seemed to be a very nice fellow. So I helped him move, brought his washing machines over to my house to store because he didn't have a place to put them, things like that. After he moved, we picked up the girl, brought her to his house and what have you.
Tell me about the money.
Oh, the money. During this move, he's saying he had put deposits down for this, for the phone, for the apartment and everything, and he was very low on money. And I figured the girl's a cousin of my wife, so I said, would you like to have a loan to bring her here? I could loan you the money for the plane ticket as long as it did not take too long to pay me back. And he said, oh, I could pay you back in 90 days, no problem. I just started a new job.
How much was the ticket?
The ticket itself was, I don't know, he sent the money to her. I gave him $675 cash.
Is that correct? That he gave you $675 in cash?
No.
He never gave you any money?
No.
He's lying, Your Honor.
Okay, so that's in dispute. $675 in cash you gave him?
Yes, ma'am. And I even asked my wife if I could take it out of our savings account. She's a joint member of that account, and she said yes, because it was for her cousin. That'd be fine.
Okay. Go ahead.
I had loaned him the money. I picked him up the day before she was to arrive. He called me and said, I can't get off work. Could you please pick her up? I said, sure, I'd be glad to. We went down, picked her up, brought her to the apartment. That weekend followed.
Okay, then you told me about the problem.
Right.
When she came to your house. All right.
Right.
Did he ever tell you that this wasn't going to work out?
The first indication I had of any problem was that Thursday, he did not show up one night. He kept on showing up later each night coming home, and Wednesday night he didn't show up at all. Thursday morning the girl called me, I picked her up, brought her home. That Thursday evening he called me, he didn't have keys to get into the apartment. He said, oh, I had to spend all night in the hospital with my son last night, and he gave me this story. His son was real sick and he stayed there, and so I met him at the apartment and told him how badly she was hurt. And he says, well, I love her, this is not going to happen. You know, let me get cleaned up, I'll come over. That was the last I saw him in person until our criminal court trial came up. He called me the next day and said...
What criminal court trial?
For the $1,500 check.
Oh, okay.
It was dismissed due to, it was a post-dated check.
Okay.
North Carolina laws.
When for the first time, I asked you, did he tell you that this was not going to work out?
He called me on the phone that week, I believe it was that Thursday evening, and said, I'm not going to marry her. And I said, well, why? And he says, well, that's personal, I'm not going to tell you. I've got to go out of town this following weekend. When I get back, I'll get with you. And he never did call back. Mr. Vaughn called me and said that he had a check that he had written to cover her expenses for her plane ticket, my loan, a small amount of living expenses until she went home. And I was to pick the check up at the apartment. Well, we didn't have a key. We couldn't get in.
Well, you must have said something to him about money. You owe me some money. You owe me the money that I gave you, $675,
actually,
and the return, and the return flight as well.
Right. It was actually him that volunteered the money at first to pay for her plane ticket home, because he knows this is a responsibility that he signed, that he is responsible for this woman, and if they do not get married after 90 days, he has to return her. It's an agreement he's made with the U.S. government.
Okay.
So he was aware of his obligation.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carl and Lori Jen Blackman say former friend Chris Miller borrowed money to fly in his girlfriend from the Philippines. Chris says there was no agreement to pay the money back.
When did she go back to the Philippines?
It wasn't until September.
Why not?
Because, well, she was so ashamed of herself, and in the Philippines, and I do have evidence from doctors that treat women in the Philippines.
I'm not interested in that because it's really not germane. She's not here. She was, for emotional reasons, she didn't go back.
Right, and plus the check bounced. We could not get it to cover. 5 times I took it, it would not. Each time I took it to the bank itself, they said, I'm sorry, there's not enough funds, and then I ran it through my bank to have it stamped.
But that was $1,500, and that would have covered her return flight to the Philippines.
And my loan.
And your loan to him.
Yes, ma'am, and a small amount of living expenses for a week or two.
So the whole thing was $1,500. So how did $1,500 become $5,000 that you're suing him for?
Well, we never could cash the check. It was never any good. So she stayed with us. She was real ashamed and didn't want to return home, and she did not have the money to return home because the check was canceled. And I had told Mr. Vaughn that about a week after the check, when I first tried to cash it, I said, well, why isn't there any money there? And he said, well, my wife wrote a check. It'll be good in a couple of days. And I said, well, yeah, I think Cheryl may be staying a while anyways because she's very afraid about going home.
Okay. I got it. So the rest of this money, $3,500, is for her living expenses.
Basically, attorney's fees, and we had to buy her clothes. She had no clothing other than summer clothing, and this was middle of winter, so we had to buy her clothing.
Well, she should have gone home immediately.
With what money?
With the money that you would have lent her, and then sued them for the $1,500, and it would have been over with.
I don't have thousands of dollars in the bank.
This isn't fair. We're not talking thousands. We're talking about a return airplane ticket.
But it was Mr. Miller's responsibility to return her.
How much was the return air ticket?
When I returned her, it was $640, and it was during the low time of year. In January, it's a high travel time. It could be as much as $1,000 or more.
All right, Mr. Miller, let's hear it.
Well, went over there, met her, did all the paperwork and everything to bring her over here.
Paperwork.
Then in December, when I talked to her, I told her, I said, you know, I don't think it's going to work.
You mean December before she got here?
Right.
Why did you tell her that in December?
Well, I had met my wife. We had dated, I guess it was about 8 or 9 years ago. And we had met, and we started seeing each other. And that's when I told her, I told Cheryl, I said, you know, it's just not going to work.
So you told the young lady that you didn't think it was going to work out. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What happened next?
She came here. Carl picked her up at the airport.
Well, when you told her in December that it wasn't going to work out, she hadn't been here yet. Why didn't you cancel these papers?
I didn't know what, she was already in Manila. I didn't know what to do.
You mean she had traveled to Manila in order to come here?
Yeah, you have to go to Manila. You have to go to the embassy in order to come to the United States.
The interview
so she had already done the legwork there and was on her way here, and they had been using your papers to process her.
Right.
Okay. So you knew she was going to come?
Right.
In January.
Well, I told her not to come. She came anyway. Carl brought her to the apartment. I told her, I said, look, it's just not going to work out. I think it was like two or three nights I stayed there, and I think that was it.
Why did you have
When
sex?
Don't speak. Mr. Miller, when she stayed at your apartment for 2 or 3 nights, did you share a room together?
Yes.
Why?
Because there was only bed. I didn't have a couch or anything. I just moved.
So you shared a bed together?
Yes.
While he was living with
Mr. Blackman, he
Sorry.
was very quiet. You have to be very quiet.
Yes, ma'am.
What arrangements did you make to get her a return ticket to go home?
When me and her had split up, or she had left, went to Carl's house.
That was just a few days later.
Right. Carl had went around telling everybody he was going to have me for abandonment, have me put in prison, $12,000 fine.
Prove it.
Don't know.
Mr.
Don't
Blackman,
know if he can
this
or
is
not.
the last time I say that to you, sir. The next time I dismiss your case. Do you understand? I control it here. It goes in an order. You, then him. Then if I have any questions. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you used to controlling things?
Not really.
Uh-huh. Does your husband like to control things?
She wears the pants.
What?
She wears the pants.
I somehow doubt that. Go ahead.
So once I heard what he was trying to do, I didn't know what to do, so I called my congressman. They put me in touch with liaisons. I told her what was going on. I said, I need to stop the fiancé visa. She said, okay. Well, I talked to Carl. He said, look, you pay $1,500. It'll all be said and done. It'll be over with. I said, okay, fine. It'll be done. I'd closed out my account. Mark Vaughn, he was a good friend of mine. I said, you mind writing a check? I said, here's the money. He said, no problem. Gave him $1,500. Well, Carl Blackman, in the meantime, had called and told her he was going to sue me, that I was going to prison, that on the documentation it says that I am liable for everything. Well, told him no, he's not. He offered to give you the money to send her back. You told him no. You've told me no, that you're not going to send her back, and there's nothing you can do to him. So then that's when he tried to go to court, get us on a criminal offense, and then we're here.
So that you stopped payment on the check that you had given him?
Yes.
That's what happened.
Yes.
But you understand that you owe him this money.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, you do. And for no other reason, Mr. Miller, than because of your actions, this young lady traveled from the Philippines to the United States. Now, you may have told her a week or two before she got on that plane, while she had traveled to Manila, according to you, to begin this process, that it wasn't going to work out. And if it wasn't going to work out, then what you do when Mr. Blackman brings her to your home is put her in the car and you say, I'm bringing you back to Mr. Blackman's house. I told you this wasn't going to work out. You don't take her to your bed for a few nights and then return her. Bed. Sportsmanship. Not moral conduct. You don't do a test run with somebody that you know is not going to be a permanent part of your life, especially under the circumstances where you met her in the Philippines, which was on her turf. According to what the plaintiff tells me, which I believe, one of the frustrations that you had is that you were not alone very much because of her strict upbringing in her family. So she comes to a strange place, she comes to a strange home, she comes to a person that she's known for, what, a week or two? Is that all you knew her? I mean, other than the mail and the telephone
I was
calls.
over there about four or 5 days.
So it was less than a week.
Mm-hmm.
And she's vulnerable because she's here. She doesn't know anybody. I don't know how her English is, but she's certainly very vulnerable. And you took advantage of that. Bad show. And I can understand when Mr. Blackman says that there was an embarrassment that she had in going home right away. And she had to emotionally prepare herself to go home because she was going home different from the way she came. How old was she?
25.
And how old are you?
I just turned 35.
And you have a child.
Yes.
I see that from here. Were you married before?
Yes.
Once before?
Twice.
So you've been around the flagpole a couple of times,
I
as
guess you could
opposed
say
to this
that.
young lady.
I don't know if she had or hadn't. I would say not.
The only other expense that I haven't addressed is your attorney's fees. Now, you said you had attorney's fees.
Yes, we tried to change her visa so she could stay here without going
That's
home.
not his problem.
Yes.
That's your problem. That's her cousin. If you tried to change her visa, then you're doing that out of the goodness of your heart. That has nothing to do with his relationship with you.
Yes, ma'am.
I certainly believe that you are entitled to be reimbursed for certain of your expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
And certainly for the $1,500 plus your airfare. I believe that you did provide airfare both ways for this young lady. And I believe that she probably needed a period of adjustment before she went back.
Yes, ma'am.
Not she came 1 week and she goes back the next. Kind of embarrassing. But I would say, Mr. Blackman, that she's not here. I cannot inquire of her. But I would say a month or so should have been sufficient time for her to get over this and to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Did she stay with you the entire time?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
Okay. So on your claim, Mr. Blackman, I'm awarding you $2,500.
Thank you.
The $1,500 that he was supposed to have given you, plus $1,000 a month for the month that I believe would have been sufficient time for her to prepare herself to go home. So on your claim, sir, I am awarding you $2,500.
Thank you.
Didn't do the right thing, sir. That's all.
Now, this is case number 236 on the calendar in the matter of Ronstadt versus Nelson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Ronstadt, when did you and the defendant start to live together?
Approximately May 1st, 2000.
And when did you separate?
He left on the 19th of July, 2001.
Were you both working at the time?
I was not working. He had lost his job the day prior.
So how did you support the household?
I have a nervous system disease, and I was receiving disability payments.
You were receiving disability?
Which exceeded his income.
No, that's a false statement, Your Honor.
Oh.
Yes, it is.
What kind of work were you doing, sir?
I'm a computer technician.
And how much did you earn last year?
$63,000.
Okay. Now, did you move into a new apartment together, or did you move in with him, or did he move in with you?
We moved into a new apartment together. I was making $110,000 at the time I lost my job, and I was receiving disability payments in excess of $2,600 a month.
Your Honor, she was borrowing money from her mother to support this.
This lawsuit has to do with the fact that you claim that you purchased for your joint use a motorcycle.
That's correct.
That's a false statement.
Mr. Nelson, I don't want to hear from you until I look in your direction or ask you a question.
Okay.
That he won't return to you.
That's correct.
Mr. Nelson says that you purchased this motorcycle for him as a gift. That's your defense.
Yes, Your Honor, that's true.
Okay. Now, I would like you to tell me the circumstances surrounding the purchase of this motorcycle. When was it purchased?
It was purchased on April 20th, the year 2001. I purchased it because when I lost my job, we had a fair amount of money to live on, but by April, it became apparent that it just wasn't going to make it. I talked to Mr. Nelson, took a full 401k distribution. I got approximately $17,000 left. I have all the proof here. The bike cost $9,400. I did so because he was driving a 4Runner. The 4Runner was costing about $500 a month in just gas alone. And we needed to cut down on our daily expenses. We could not fork out that amount of money on a daily basis for gas. Plus, he had to pay a toll fee to go across the bridge to get to work. Using a motorcycle, you avoid the toll fee.
So?
So we bought the bike.
Now I'll hear from you.
Your Honor, on my birthday, 4/10, she told me that for my birthday, as a gift, that she would be buying a motorcycle for me. And it's a wonderful gift. Plus, it will save on the gas and all these other things. This was not for our use, it was for my use, and it was a gift as a birthday present. 4/10, we had discussed going to look at motorcycles on the weekend. We did so on Sunday, April 15th, and put a deposit of $100 on the motorcycle in question. We were waiting on the rest of the 401k loan to come in, and it did come in. Sorry?
Not a 401k loan, a 401k payout. She got cash.
Okay, yeah. Well, she took that money and told me that she was going to pay the debts that were incurred because of her out-of-control spending with eBay and whatnot, the debts that she was creating, as well as buying a motorcycle for me as a gift. We went back on 4/21 and paid the remainder of the balance. She was talking to the salesman, and I have a written statement from the salesman.
Don't tell me what the salesman said.
This is very important.
The salesman should have been here.
He couldn't come here because he's a salesman. He couldn't make it. He doesn't know me. Why would he take the time to come to the
Not
court?
a reason. That's hearsay.
Okay. Well, she also told Jamie Curley and my mother. We rode the motorcycle to my mother's house, and she boasted this beautiful gift that, this generous gift that she bought for her son, as a birthday gift.
Why did you leave in July?
We were having some difficulties. We were having a lot of difficulties, and she was adding a lot of stress to my life, and plus my children. She was not really caring for my children or very sympathetic towards the situation between my children and I. She didn't want them around. She was trying to control how often I saw my children and
But
whatnot.
that wasn't a recent thing. That probably had been going on for
This
a while.
has been, yes.
Was it going on before April of 2001?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
So what'd you take this very expensive gift for?
Because it was a gift for me.
So why did you accept a very expensive gift if things weren't going well?
They weren't going too well, but I mean, these things were tolerable, and it was getting progressively worse. When she lost her job, things just kept going downhill from there. And, I got to a point where I was just fed up and I was done.
Now, one of the defenses that you have to this action, other than the fact that it was a gift, is that you say that jointly you purchased furniture for this apartment that you moved in together, and the only thing that you left with was the motorcycle.
It wasn't, I wanted to leave clean. I didn't want to have it drag out or anything, and we had discussed, she said I could take, I told her three things that I wanted. I'm going to take, I said I'd like to take the computer desk, the DVD player, and our big screen TV. And that's it, and you can have the rest, and I'm leaving. And I didn't include the motorcycle because that was a gift and that was mine. So I didn't ask her, is it okay if I take my motorcycle? I had a police civil standby because her son got out of control that night and brought two friends over.
Did you in fact take this TV?
No, I did not. She wouldn't allow me to take the TV because
So did you take anything from the apartment?
No. Excuse me. I took my clothes, my belongings, and
the motorcycle.
And the motorcycle. And the police wanted me to get my stuff and get out. They were there on a civil standby, and I was standing right next to an officer when I rode off with the motorcycle.
Now, who paid for all the furniture in the apartment?
She paid partially, and we had a joint account and whatnot, so I don't know exactly how much of what we paid for.
How much money did you put into the joint account each week?
Actually, I have it right here. I have statements right here.
I have a statement also, Your Honor.
How much money did he put into the joint account each week?
$1,263 every 2 weeks.
Okay, and what was the rent on the apartment?
$1,800.
$1,850, Your Honor.
Excuse me. This motorcycle was not an issue, if I may. This motorcycle was not an issue until after I'd left and she saw Miss Curley riding on the back of my motorcycle. We left the place, and then Miss Rungstad told me that she said, now, because of this stunt, you're going to lose the motorcycle. And that's when it became the issue.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lori Rongstad is suing her ex-boyfriend, Eric Nelson, for the cost of a motorcycle. Eric says Lori is jealous of his new fiancée.
Is it accurate that he put in about it would come out to about $2,700 a month?
He put it in, but he also had bills that used up all of that money.
I want to know who paid for furnishing the apartment.
I did. I sold over $80,000 worth of stock options. I bought all of the bedroom furniture prior to us ever moving in and charged it on an American Express card.
Are you telling me that he did not contribute to purchasing anything for the apartment?
No, ma'am, he didn't, because I had the cash. I had over $30,000 when we moved in. The only things that we needed to buy once we moved in were we bought a big screen TV, a DVD player, and a couple of VCRs.
Where did you pay for that from?
At that time, we did not have a joint account.
Where did the money come from?
From myself, from my stock option sales.
Your Honor, I also had stock that I had sold as well, and plus I also put extra money in that we bought stock together, and she put it in her son's name, and then sold the stock, and we used that money as well, so it's not going to look like it came from me at all, but that's what happened.
There's never been any stock in my son's name ever, and that can be proved through IRS records if needed.
I'd like to pull
Now,
those.
I have one other question. The car that you had, the truck that you had, was that sold?
No, ma'am.
Did you continue to use it for the months of May and June?
Yes, I did at times, yes.
So you kept that. Do you drive?
I do drive, but I have my own vehicle.
What kind of vehicle do you have?
At the time, I had a Chrysler Concorde. However, it was tampered with, and the engine no longer worked, so I had to turn that in and buy a new car.
But when this motorcycle was purchased, you did not sell the other car that he had.
No.
That car was retained.
That's correct.
Now, do you have both vehicles now, sir? The motorcycle and that other car?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
You have both?
Yes.
Okay, and you had both in the month of May?
Yes, I did.
And you had both in the month of June?
Yes.
It was a gift. It was a gift, Miss Rostat. Now, it may have been a gift that you decided should not be a gift because the romance didn't last more than a couple of months after you gave it to him, but that's really not dispositive.
No, Your
I
Honor.
would accept what you said to me about saving all the money because of saving all the gas money, et cetera, if the agreement was that he was going to sell the car that he had or the truck that he had so that there would be no additional expense. But there is certainly no saving by having two vehicles, two insurance, two repairs, two everything else. I mean, I think that, yes. Oh, yes.
May I
think that it is, no. I think that it's probably not the moral thing to do to accept this very pricey gift, sir, from somebody where the relationship wasn't going right. You know, guys like big toys, so you're going to take it anyway because where else were you going to get a $9,000 present? But I certainly think it was not the moral thing to do. Do we understand each other?
Yes, I do. I left that house, Your Honor, without taking anything, so
well, my
understand
sense is, from what the plaintiff tells me, that she had far more financial resources to spend to furnish that house than you did. I was a little sympathetic when I first read your answer, and you said, I walked out of this relationship with nothing. We had furnished a house for $25,000, and I just left with this gift and my clothes. Until I ascertained, sir, that you have children for whom I'm sure you pay child support, that you did put in certain joint monies into a joint account, but that went to pay off some bills. You had a car, you had insurance, you had gas. That eats up what you put in to the joint account. So I don't see that you had a lot left over to buy furniture, whether it was a big screen TV, because that would have been a single guy's paradise to leave a relationship with a big screen TV and a motorcycle. So I'm sorry I can't help you, madam.
May I please say a couple other items that I was not able to say?
Sure.
Anything that was a gift, I gave him. I bought him Yardrow Eagles. I bought him a number of very expensive items. I gave those to him. Those were pure gifts. I was down to all of the last money I had in my life, my 401k. I would not have used half of that to buy him a gift. Also,
yes, you did.
No, he also did not. Yes, you did. Ma'am, he also did not use...
You shouldn't have used... If it wasn't a gift, you should not have used half the money that you have in your whole life to buy him a motorcycle.
Your Honor.
That's not smart.
I know.
And don't give me all the baloney about he was going to save money on gas. Common sense suggests to me that if you were going to buy somebody a car to save money...
Why did I put it in my name?
No. Listen to me carefully. You would buy him a car for $8,000.
It doesn't get across the bridge fast.
Hey! Did I look at you and ask you a question? A motorcycle is not something that one buys to save money.
It is.
No. A four-cylinder little car just to get you to and from work can save money.
Yes.
Right? A motorcycle is a boy toy.
I like motorcycles, and I've always had them.
Good. Buy yourself another one. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's obviously filled the judge's head with lies. I mean, they won when they're purely evil people.
We were next door neighbors, and Lori won't take any responsibility for their breakup.
I have 20 police reports of all the harassment.
A woman scorned.
After I left her, I got involved with Jamie Curley, and she's off at that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Clark versus Bruni. Step forward, please.
21-year-old student Elizabeth Clark is suing 21-year-old student Callie Bruni for the unpaid balance on a trip to Cancun.
I gather that you and a friend decided to take a trip to Mexico, a vacation to Mexico. Is that right?
Yes.
And you prepaid the trip, and shortly before you were supposed to leave, you got sick.
Yes.
Mono?
Yes.
Somehow there was an arrangement made with the defendant to take your place on the trip. You claim she paid you some money for the trip, but still owes you a substantial amount.
That's correct.
So when were you scheduled to leave on the trip?
March 8th.
When did you get sick?
February 14th. I was hospitalized March 1st through the 6th.
And at what point did it become non-refundable?
Not exactly sure.
Well, it becomes non-refundable. Certainly you would agree that by February 14th, when you got sick, it was non-refundable.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
So you stood to lose all of your money, right?
Yes.
Now tell me what the arrangements were with the defendant.
The arrangements were when I was in the hospital between my witness Shannon and Callie that she was going to pay me money before I left.
Just a minute. So you never had a discussion with the defendant?
No, I did not.
Your witness did?
Yes, she did.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Shannon Powers.
You were supposed to go on the trip with Miss
Beth.
Clark.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do? You contacted the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Okay. She was a friend of yours?
Yep.
Was she a friend of yours?
No.
Go ahead.
I kind of struggled around to find someone to go because we both stood to lose a lot of money. And the agreement...
Right, because it was non-refundable.
Yep.
Right.
The agreement between Callie and myself was she would give or send Beth a check or money for $400 and then pay her the remainder of the $574 in the summer when she started working.
Was that your agreement?
No.
Let me hear what your agreement was.
The agreement was $700. My parents gave $400, and I thought the agreement was that Shannon's parents gave $100 for me, and then that I was paying Beth $200 in the summer. I would never agree to pay that $978 when she was going to lose all her money.
How much did you receive altogether so far for this trip?
$400.
$400. And where did the other $100 come from?
From my parents, but I guess they never sent it. I was not aware of that.
Why were your parents going to send Miss Clark another $100?
Because Callie agreed to give me $500, and then she didn't have a license, and she had to get back from New York to Connecticut because she didn't have a passport, and she had to spend the money, the $100, to get back to Connecticut to get her IDs and stuff.
Okay, so you were going to give her parents back the $100?
No. My parents would only give me $400, and Beth's mom would not take the $400. She said $500.
Are you telling me that you actually gave her $500 or $400?
$400, but...
All right, so you still owe her $3. Miss Clark, you never had a conversation with nor a contract with the defendant. Is that right?
Before she left, I did not have contact with her.
Right, so you had no contract with her, right?
Right.
You had no agreement with her whatsoever.
It was between them. But I had a friend who was willing to go instead of Callie before she...
I don't know that. Where's your friend who was willing to go?
I have a document.
I don't read documents. I don't read documents. I mean, you're in the hospital. You stand to lose $974. You took out no insurance to prevent you from losing all this money. I mean, I don't see anybody spending the full amount of the trip. If she knows you're going to lose all of your money, that's not the way people usually operate. They usually operate, well, I'll go on short notice, but I'm not going to spend $1,000 on a trip. She didn't have $1,000. She only had $400. Aside from the fact you didn't have a contract with her.
But that was the agreement that I understood, that she was to pay me money when she got back from the trip.
Yeah.
She paid me $400 and I expected the rest. I worked 2 jobs over my winter break trying to pay for this trip. And I wouldn't have let somebody go on my trip for $700 that I worked 2 jobs for and then I paid for in full.
Next time you take a trip, you should have some insurance.
I never thought that I was going to get sick.
Absolutely. That's why people take out insurance. In any event, you had no contract with the defendant. As far as she was concerned, well, she got a little mixed up with the $100. I guess she figured your mother was going to give her $100 so that you wouldn't lose all your money and therefore you wouldn't go away on this trip alone.
Yeah.
You still owe her $300. Why haven't you paid her?
I was going to pay her the $200 because I never knew that her
mother didn't give the $100.
Yes.
All right.
So I was going to pay her the $200, and then I get in the mail that she's trying to get $530 from me.
So you gave her nothing?
Right.
Well, why didn't you give her at least what you thought you owed her?
Because I knew I had to go to court anyways.
Okay. Well, you owe her $300. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 244 on the calendar in the matter of Nickerson versus Monk. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Ms. Nickerson, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours, and it is your claim that he purposely totaled your car by smashing into it.
Mm-hmm.
This was after he had ceased to be your boyfriend.
Right.
Mr. Monk does not deny that he did, in fact, smash into your car, but he has 2 defenses. One, it was that it was really just an accident, and second, that you should have had more insurance. Right?
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure I got it right.
Mm-hmm.
When did he cease being your boyfriend?
That night.
It was a good answer. When did this happen?
August 7th.
Where were you?
I was at a friend's house.
Male friend?
Yes.
About what time?
About 7, 8-ish.
He came over.
He followed me.
What happened?
He knocked on the door, and my friend said, "I think your boyfriend is outside." I said, "Oh no, quit playing." And then he got more furious. "Aisha, if you don't come out here." And so I finally...
You mean the defendant got more furious?
Yeah. He started yelling my name, and I was paranoid. And then I finally opened the door, and I came out there, and he was ranting and raving.
What was he saying to you?
Oh, it was belligerent.
What was he saying?
Oh, you know, how could you do this to me? Why are you here? Yada, yada.
And what did you say to him?
You know, I just said I was over a friend's house. By this time, I'm mad because he's embarrassing me at my friend's house. So I was getting upset with him, and I told him none of his business. And then he got more upset. Then this is in the back of the house, and then we're walking. He threw someone's garbage can on the ground, and I'm paranoid. Then I got on my cell phone. I called the police because he was getting violent. He was getting in my face.
He was getting in your face, and he threw somebody's garbage can?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Then we proceeded to the front where my car was parked, and his car was parked on across the street. Okay, and then we were arguing, and then he got in his car. It looks like he was going to take off and leave, but I guess the devil got in him. And so he did a donut, and he sped and totaled my car. 360 turn and totaled my car.
What kind of car did you have?
A 2001 Corolla Toyota, 3 months old. My first new car.
Okay. You have a different version of what happened?
Yes.
I'll hear you.
First of all, we were still together on that day when...
Okay, you were still together.
When the thing happened, yes. And I did not follow her, I was not following her. I was on my way somewhere else, and I just happened to pass by that area, and I seen her car outside the home.
How big an area do you live in?
What do you mean?
You live in a city or?
Yeah, it's a town, it's a town.
How many people live in that town?
I don't know, a couple thousand, about 50,000.
So you're just around 50,000, so you just
maybe
happen to be
more,
going
maybe
down
more.
that street?
Yeah, I was going down that street.
Okay, go ahead.
Where I was going, I was passing that area.
I got you.
But anyway.
Believe me, I got you. Go ahead.
Anyway, so I see her car there. So I was on my way to do something, so I continued to do what I was doing. I called her cell phone.
When you said you saw her car there, was it parked in the street or in a driveway?
Yeah, it was parked on the street. The street I'm going down, if I look that way, I can see her car parked right there. And I know her car, and I know that she knows people that stay in that house. That's why I knew it was her.
Ah, there you go. Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, I proceeded to call her on the phone, and she didn't answer her phone, so that made me suspect something even further. So after I finished doing what I was doing, I came back over there, and I knocked on the door. Nobody answered, so that, like she said, that made me more mad, and I was getting restless and upset. So I was calling her name out, and finally she came out. We got in a heated discussion. Things were getting too hot. You know, I was getting too upset, so I jumped in my car and I proceeded to leave. My car was parked opposite of hers on the other side of the street. I went to make a U-turn. By this time, I'm so upset that I'm driving reckless. So I lost control when I was coming back after making a U-turn, and my car went into hers.
Right. Okay, now let's talk about the damage. The car's been totaled?
It's totaled. It was not up.
What kind of insurance did you have on this brand new car?
The worst insurance in the world. Due to my age, I had to go with the cheap insurance. So I went to this place, but it was full coverage because you can't drive it off the lot without full coverage. So they're telling me they can only pay the blue book. So apparently the dealer must have gotten over on me on the overall price of the car, which, regardless of the case, I paid for it. That was my decision.
Let me see the paperwork. How old are you?
24.
So, according to this letter from the insurance company, they're prepared to give you $14,541.
Right.
And did you have a loan on this car?
Yes.
And what was the total loan amount on the car?
$19,100 something.
Who went with you to buy this car?
He did.
Did you shop around at all?
Yeah. I was shocked I got approved. I was happy. It had a nice steering wheel.
A nice what?
Steering wheel. Leather.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at customer service.
For whom?
Kaiser.
For how long?
3 years.
How much do you earn?
Not a lot.
How much do you earn?
Yearly, about $30,000.
How many payments did you make on this car?
Like 4 payments.
And how much were your payments?
$365
a month.
Yes. Plus 120 of that insurance.
120 of the 365 was for insurance?
Mm-hmm, the insurance. That lousy insurance. Can I say their name? The insurance name?
Sure.
I can?
Sure.
They suck.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Aisha Nickerson claims ex-boyfriend Carl Monk crashed into her car during a jealous rage. Carl says it was definitely an accident.
What percentage of interest do you have on this loan, do you know?
10%, 10.9.
You're not a very good shopper.
I was just with her. I wasn't helping her along.
Well, you have to deduct the payments that you've already made to the company, because you don't have a payout figure, do you?
No.
Okay. That would leave a balance that you owe the company of about $3,765. Now, Mr. Monk, you hit a car.
Yes.
You gotta
It was an
pay.
accident.
Well, it wasn't her accident. It was your accident.
But it was an accident.
No, it wasn't her accident. It was your accident. She wasn't in her car. Her car was standing. Her car didn't move over to your car. Right?
Right.
You hit her car.
True.
All riled up, angry, whatever else it was. Her car's not responsible for your anger. You are. So you got to pay her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,765. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't agree with it.
I think justice was served.
Yeah, don't act on emotion.
Stay single.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Staley versus Thompson, step forward, please.
37-year-old trucker John Staley says during a visit with his sister, 38-year-old customer service rep Terry Thompson, she attacked him with a hammer. John says Terry lied to police and had him arrested for domestic violence.
Mr. Staley, the defendant is your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, she filed a false police report causing you to be arrested, spending a day in jail. Those charges were subsequently dismissed, but you want her to pay for your lost wages.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? When did this incident occur that caused you to be arrested?
August 9th,
And where did it take place?
at the defendant's home of residence.
What were you doing there?
On August 9th, I came home to my home, and I found my niece, my oldest niece, on the phone.
Your
I asked
oldest
her-
niece is your daughter?
Yes.
Go ahead.
She was calling people on the phone, and she advised me that her car had broken down. She didn't have any money on her, and she needed help getting the car towed to get the car fixed. And she asked for my assistance. At the point, I didn't really have any money, but as we were discussing this, the tow truck showed up at my residence. So I told Lori to go with the tow truck driver to go get the car, have the vehicle towed, and I would go to the bank, withdraw money to pay for the towing. And Lori needed to go back to her mother's house, so I took Lori back to her mother's house, and that's what I was doing there.
And what happened when you got there?
I walked with Lori upstairs to the apartment. I stayed in the hallway.
Your Honor,
of the-
don't put your hand up yet. You'll have an opportunity to tell me your side of the story.
I stayed in the hallway while Lori went in and got her things, and there was a discussion that Terry made about that I owed her an apology over an incident that took place 2 years ago.
Have you spoken to your sister since?
I haven't spoken to my sister since February or March of this year.
But you were outside in the hallway.
I was in the hallway of the apartment.
She came out to the hallway
Yes, she did.
to tell you
She
that
wanted an apology, and she made some statements, and I told her she needed to get her facts straight on that issue, but I wasn't going to apologize for this incident. It's 2 years old, and there was no need, and I felt I was in the right of that incident.
Okay.
And she told me to leave, and I tried telling her that I needed to take Lori back to get her car, and she said, "No, you're not." She demanded that I leave, and if I didn't leave, she was going to go in, get a hammer, and she was going to beat me with the hammer. And I said, "Fine." So I turned around, I started walking down the steps. I was on the second step when my sister tried shoving me down the stairs. As she was pushing for me from behind, I turned around with my arm, I raised my arm in defense, and at the same time I tried to maintain my balance on the stairwell.
Had she gotten the hammer?
Not at that point. She got hysterical and everything. She started screaming out loud, and she ran back into her apartment, and I started walking down the stairs, and I was at the first turnaround. There's 3 flights of stairs, and there's a turnaround at one point, and that's when she emerged with the hammer from the apartment.
Did she come down the stairs to
Yes,
where
she
you
did.
were?
I started running down the stairs. I was at the bottom of the stairs when we came together.
and she went to swing the hammer, and I put my hands up in a high blocking fashion, and the hammer caught my right forearm, and then I returned a kick to Terry, kicking her away from me, and this bought me a couple seconds to get out the door. Terry then chased me out the door, and I turned and I tossed my keys at Terry. I missed Terry, and my keys went into the bushes on the east side of the doorwell. And then she continued to swing the hammer, and she started yelling to her neighbors, "Call 911! I'm being assaulted!" as she was swinging the hammer.
Did you report this to the police?
Yes, I did.
When?
What happened was Lori came out, and I ended up taking Lori back to her car.
When did you report this to the police?
After I dropped my niece off at her car, I went straight to the sheriff's department.
And what happened when you got there?
They interviewed me, and I told them about the apology and
told them the story.
Told them the story. They said they had to talk to Terry about the hammer because she didn't originally tell them about the hammer. And they come back and they said she admitted to using the hammer and that I admitted to kicking her. And as far as they were concerned, this was mutual combat. And their policy is to take one of us to jail. They elected me because I was already there.
And subsequently the charges were dismissed.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see your paperwork, please. Now, Ms. Thompson, you tell me your version of these events, please.
He's been told several times, this would meaning the 5th time of this year, that he doesn't need to be over harassing me or coming over to my apartment. There's no reason for him to be over there since we do not get along. There's been a few domestic disputes in the past.
Whatever. Your daughter came home to gather some stuff. Your brother is standing outside in the hallway of your apartment. What happened from there?
Okay. Well, I buzzed my daughter to get in. I only seen my daughter get in.
Fine. Your brother is standing in the landing.
He pushed his way in my apartment.
Where was he in the apartment?
He was standing in the living room.
Is the living room as soon as you enter into the door?
Yep.
Fine. Okay. So he's standing in the living room. What happened next?
He was trying to say hi, and he was being very much agitating and aggressive. And I said, why are you here? You know, you don't get along. We don't get along.
What did he tell you?
He was very much trying to say hi,
No,
very
Ms. Thompson,
jumping up and down.
Ms. Thompson, pay careful attention to me.
Okay.
He was there because he had brought your daughter there, right?
He could have waited in the car.
Just a second. Answer my question.
Yes.
He was there because he brought your daughter there.
Yes.
And he was waiting for her.
No.
He took her back to get her car.
That's correct.
Right. She got her things, and eventually, after this altercation, she left with him. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, I want you to tell me about this hammer that you admit that you hit him with.
First, he punched me first before I got a chance.
Where did that take place?
It happened in the hallway.
What level of the staircase did it happen where he punched you?
On the 2nd level.
Was he in front of you or behind you?
He was in front of me.
What were you doing following him out of the building?
He was still agitating me the whole way.
What were you doing following him as he was leaving the building?
Your Honor, he's constantly over in my apartment.
I don't care about constantly over. I'm asking you. He's leaving. You told him to leave. He's on his way down the stairs.
Right, agitatingly.
Not agitating, leaving the building. Whether he's leaving the building and he's saying words to you or he's not saying words to you, he's leaving. If he was agitating you, you close your door to your apartment, you say, my goodness, I'm glad he's out of here. You close the door, case closed. What were you following him for?
To make sure I didn't want him to come back.
Oh. When did you get the hammer?
I got it out from my closet in my apartment.
What did you call the police for?
I've constantly called the police.
No, I don't care constantly. What did you call the police for today, that day?
Because he was over again at my apartment harassing me.
Ms. Thompson, was your daughter moving out of your apartment? Is that why she came over?
No, she just wanted one thing, a paycheck. She was in there for a second and out.
So she just came home to get a paycheck, right?
Right.
When did she tell you that she was just there to get a paycheck?
She didn't even bother telling me.
She walked in the door and you said something.
He followed her up.
When your daughter walked in the house,
okay,
did she tell you what she was doing there?
No, first she said, John is behind me.
Fine.
And then he pushed his way in. And then she went to get her check to get him out of there.
That's not why she went to get her check. That is not why she went to get her check. She came to the house because she had to get a check. She asked him for a ride. He was not there uninvited by someone who lives in your house. Does your daughter live with you? Does your daughter live with you?
No, she doesn't.
Did she live with you then?
No.
Okay, but her check was in your home?
She came over to visit me, and the check was in her pants pocket, and she came back to pick up her check.
So she leaves clothes in your house?
There's times she visits.
So she leaves clothes in your house?
Yes.
So she invited him to drive her home. She walked in and said to you, John's behind me. Not John's behind me, he's stalking me. He followed me here in order to hurt you.
Yes, he did, Your Honor.
No, he didn't, Miss Thompson. Now, Miss Thompson, you told him to leave, and he was leaving. And your daughter was still upstairs. You're the one who gets agitated. Because you were following him down the stairs, you went upstairs, and you got a hammer.
And he couldn't stay in his car?
He could have stayed in his car.
Mm-hmm.
Sure he could have. That doesn't give you license to go and get a hammer and assault him with a hammer. That doesn't give you license to do that. He's not a stranger. It's not somebody that you don't know. You may not get along with your brother, Miss Thompson, but that doesn't give you license to pick up a deadly weapon and to use it. At all. And you're absolutely responsible for his lost day's wages, which in this case, all he's suing for is $134.84. You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Party's up.
यार विराज सौदा असा बिस्मिल्लाह पढ़नी है पहला पहला गा के मेरी दुकान ते चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं जना रेट दा फर्क क्या नहीं कीता मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान कोई क्या नहीं बचना तबार का बचना क्या नहीं गा एक नहीं में सब इन्हें ज्यादा कमे नहीं बताएगा ले यार दे सारे 100 खान की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक जोड़ा बेचूंगा रेट मुनासिब लगा
बगैर पेटे तेरा किला बन गया ना
यार विराज सौदा असा बिस्मिल्लाह पढ़नी है पहला पहला गा के मेरी दुकान ते चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं जना रेट दा फर्क क्या नहीं कीता मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान कोई क्या नहीं बचना तबार का बचना क्या नहीं गा एक नहीं में सब इन्हें ज्यादा कमे नहीं बताएगा ले यार दे सारे 100 100 खाल की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक जोड़ा बेच रेट मुनासिब ला मैं उसकी
Lagi doon ba? Pera. Hindi po बगैर पेटे हाँ देखो तेरा किला बन गया ना
यार विराज सौदा असा बिस्मिल्लाह पहले पहला पहला गा के मेरी दुकान ते चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं ना रेट दा फर्क क्या नहीं कीता मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खाल दा कोई क्या नहीं बचना तो बाहर का बचना क्या नहीं गा एक नहीं बेच सकती इन्हें ज्यादा करने दे ले यार दे सारे 100 खाल की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक जोड़ा बेच रेट मुनासिब ला मैं उसकी
Lagi doon ba? तेरा बगैर पेटे हाँ देखो तेरा किला बन गया ना
यार विरास होगा असा बिस्मिल्लाह पढ़नी पहला पहला गागी मेरी दुकान से चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं जना रेट का फर्क क्या नहीं किया मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान तो कोई क्या नहीं बचना तो बाहर का बचना क्या नहीं क्या एक नहीं बेच सकती इन्हें ज्यादा करने लग जाएगा ले यार दे सारे 100 खान की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक जोड़ा बेचूंगा रेट मुनासिब ला
बगैर पेटे हाँ देखो तेरा क्लब बन गया ना
यार विरास होगा असा बिस्मिल्लाह पढ़नी पहला पहला गागी मेरी दुकान से चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं जना रेट का फर्क क्या नहीं किया मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान तो कोई क्या नहीं बचना तो बाहर का बचना क्या नहीं क्या एक नहीं बेच सकती इन्हें ज्यादा करने लग जाएगा ले यार दे सारे 100 खान की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक जोड़ा बेचूंगा रेट मुनासिब ला बगैर पेटे
हाँ
क्या बच्चे कैसे खाली वीडियो
फिर कुत्ते का किलर बन गया ना
यार विराज असा बिस्मिल्लाह पढ़नी पहला पहला गागी मेरी दुकान से चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं ना रेट का फर्क क्या नहीं किया मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान तो कोई क्या नहीं बचना तो बाहर का बचना क्या नहीं क्या एक नहीं बेच सकती इन्हें ज्यादा करने लगे ले यार दे सारे 100 खान की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक जोड़ा बेच रेट मुनासिब ला
बगैर पेटी हाँ फिर कुत्ते का किलर बन गया ना
यार विराज असा बिस्मिल्लाह पढ़नी पहला पहला गागी मेरी दुकान से चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं ना रेट का फर्क क्या नहीं किया मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान तो कोई क्या नहीं बचना तो बाहर का बचना क्या नहीं क्या एक नहीं बेच सकती इन्हें ज्यादा करने लगे ले यार दे सारे 100 खान की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक जोड़ा बेच रेट मुनासिब ला
Thank you.
नहीं दिन
13 बगैर पेटी हाँ एक कुत्ते का किला बन गया ना
यार विराज असा बिस्मिल्लाह पढ़नी पहला पहला गागी मेरी दुकान से चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं जना रेट का फर्क क्या नहीं किया मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान तो कोई क्या नहीं बचना तो बाहर का बचना क्या नहीं क्या एक नहीं बेच सकती इन्हें ज्यादा करने लगे ले यार देश वाले 100 खान की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक जोड़ा रेट मुनासिब नहीं दिन
13 बगैर पेटी हाँ एक कुत्ते का किला बन गया ना
यार विराज असा बिस्मिल्लाह पढ़नी पहला पहला गागी मेरी दुकान से चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं जना रेट का फर्क क्या नहीं किया मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान तो कोई क्या नहीं बचना तो बाहर का बचना क्या नहीं क्या एक नहीं बेच सकती इन्हें ज्यादा करने लगे ले यार देश वाले 100 खान की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक जोड़ा रेट मुनासिब
13 बगैर पेटी हाँ कुत्ते का किला बन गया ना
यार विराज असा बिस्मिल्लाह पहले पहला पहला गाहकी मेरी दुकान से चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं ना रेट का फर्क क्या नहीं किया मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान तो कोई क्या नहीं बचना तो बाहर का बचना क्या नहीं क्या एक नहीं बेच सकती इन्हें ज्यादा कमे नहीं बुझाएगा ले यार देश वाले 100 खान की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक जोड़ा बेच रेट मुनासिब ला बगैर पेटी हाँ कुत्ते का किला बन गया ना यार विराज असा बिस्मिल्लाह पहले पहला पहला गाहकी मेरी दुकान से चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं ना रेट का फर्क क्या नहीं किया मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान तो कोई क्या नहीं बचना तो बाहर का बचना क्या नहीं क्या एक नहीं बेच सकती इन्हें ज्यादा कमे नहीं बुझाएगा ले यार देश वाले 100 खान की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक ने एक जोड़ा बेच वेट मुनासिब ला
तेरा बगैर पेटी हाँ कुत्ते का किला बन गया ना
यार विराज असा बिस्मिल्लाह पहले पहला पहला गाहकी मेरी दुकान से चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं जना रेट का फर्क क्या नहीं किया मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान तो कोई क्या नहीं बचना तो बाहर का बचना क्या नहीं क्या एक नहीं बेच सकती इन्हें ज्यादा कभी नहीं बुझाएगा ले यार देश वाले 100 खान की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक जोड़ा बेच रेट मुनासिब ला
तेरा बगैर पेटी हाँ कुत्ते का किला बन गया ना
खरीदते खरीदते तो गिलास छोड़ लो यार विराज सौदा असा बिस्मिल्लाह पढ़नी है पहला पहला गागी मेरी दुकान ते चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं जना रेट दा फर्क क्या नहीं कीता मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान कोई क्या नहीं बचना इतबार का बचना क्या नहीं गा एक नहीं बेच सकती इन्हें ज्यादा करने लगी साइड ले यार दे सारे 100 खान की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक ने एक जोड़ा बेच वेट मुनासिब ला
बगैर पेटे हाँ कुत्ते का किला बन गया ना
यार विराज सौदा असा बिस्मिल्लाह पढ़नी है पहला पहला गागी मेरी दुकान ते चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं जना रेट दा फर्क क्या नहीं कीता मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान कोई क्या नहीं बचना इतबार का बचना क्या नहीं गा एक नहीं बेच सकती इन्हें ज्यादा करने लगी साइड ले यार दे सारे 100 खान की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक ने एक जोड़ा बेच वेट मुनासिब ला बगैर पेटे कहना नहीं साल में बचत कर
हाँ
क्या बच्चों के खाली वीडियो
फिर कुत्ते का किला बन गया ना
यार विराज सौदा असा बिस्मिल्लाह पढ़नी है पहला पहला गागी मेरी दुकान ते चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं जना रेट दा फर्क क्या नहीं कीता मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान कोई क्या नहीं बचना तबार का बचना क्या नहीं क्या एक नहीं बेच सकती इन्हें ज्यादा करने दे ले यार दे सारे 100 खान की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक ने एक जोड़ा बेच रेट मुनासिब ला बगैर पेटे हाँ क्या बच्चों के खाली वीडियो
फिर कुत्ते का किला बन गया ना
यार विराज सौदा असा बिस्मिल्लाह पढ़नी है पहला पहला गागी मेरी दुकान ते चढ़ी सवेरे सवेरे मैं जना रेट दा फर्क क्या नहीं कीता मेरी जिम्मेवारी है रेट 100 खान कोई क्या नहीं बचना तबार का बचना क्या नहीं क्या एक नहीं बेच सकती इन्हें ज्यादा करने दे ले यार दे सारे 100 खान की कोई गाल नहीं मैं एक ने एक जोड़ा बेच रेट मुनासिब ला
How you doing, bud? How you doing?
Here.
You did move to the
Bagar peti. हाँ फिर कुत्ते का किला बन गया ना
Yeah.
Right,